Chapter 401 West Blue, the Mafia War Zone, is an endless building of ethnic groups. At this moment, the smoke is filled with gunpowder, and a fairly complete hall is full of people at this moment. It's almost settled. Now West Blue, it's ours. Excited, Bej looked down at everyone in the hall, proud of himself. At the beginning, Bej's family was in danger. For some unknown reason, it was besieged by other mafia families, and it was almost wiped out. But with Bej's return, everything changed. On the spot, those mafia families were all killed, and now the bodies are piled up outside, like a big mountain, being burned. Afterwards, Bej led the first Emperor's army to clean up the West Blue in an all-round way, and finally took control of all places. For who was the happiest at the scene, it must be Bej's family. At this moment, he became the spokesperson of the first Emperor Pirates and dominated West Blue. It's done, ready to return to the first Emperor Pirates. With a wave of his hand, the group left the hall directly. Bej, the family is proud of you. Bej came to the end, all the mafia, all stood up and looked at Bej, full of excitement. It is conceivable that from now on, their Capone family is the master of West Blue. With the behemoth of the first Emperor Pirates behind them, they can walk sideways on the sea. Mouth rose, and Bej didn't look back, just waved. Little West Blue, he really doesn't like it now. After all, he is a supernova of the first Emperor Pirates. What can't he get? The clouds rose, and Bej and the others disappeared in front of everyone, rushing towards the first Emperor Pirates. The Great Root, a hidden base of the Revolutionary Army, on the top of the mountain, a figure, calmly looking at the sea horizon, a little trance. Young Master. Behind him, the dragon's face was a little painful. Alas. Turned around, revealing that slightly vicissitudes of life and lonely face, it was Roger, our Vegapunk, who had met Chin Luo not long ago, but his real name was only one word, D. The royal family who once ruled this sea, the only direct bloodline, and the most orthodox heir, the prince of the D family. How is the situation now? Putting his mind away, Roger looked at the dragon without any movement in his eyes. The situation of our revolutionary army is not very good, and it has fallen into a disadvantage. Clenching his fists, the dragon's eyes were full of hatred. Dragon, you are also a member of the D family. Sometimes, children are long in love and need to know how to let go. This sea belongs to us. It was taken by those invaders 800 years ago, and we must take it back. Roger, whose face was calm, also became serious at this moment, and his eyes were full of ruthlessness. I know. Long took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. Young Master, I don't understand, why are you still keeping the first Emperor? Gritting his teeth, Long asked what he wanted to know most in his heart. Because he can help us kill IM. Roger's thoughts were full of thoughts, and the emotions he revealed were extremely complicated. Can't even the young master kill Yimu? Dragon knows about Yimu, and even many things about the world government, he also knows, otherwise, it will not be smooth sailing under the eyes of the world government. Roger turned around and looked at the dragon, a different emotion flashed in his eyes, which was fleeting, even the dragon didn't notice it. No, he is the only one who can kill IM in this world. With a cold sentence, Roger seemed to have finished speaking, but only he himself knew that there was a follow-up to this sentence. Why? Long asked, puzzled. There's no reason, it's all right, you can deal with other things. With a wave of his hand, Roger's figure slowly faded in front of the dragon. Eyes trembling, Long looked at the empty mountain top, and the originally calm face suddenly became ugly. At the same time, in the holy land of Mariajoy, on the smooth and dark ground, there were 5 figures kneeling on their knees. Their faces were a little pale, and a drop of cold sweat was constantly streaking across their forehead. Rows of stairs went up, and on a void throne, there was a person who could not see his face reading the latest news. There is no doubt that this person is IM. The sound of fingers hitting the throne conveyed a crisp, soul-stirring sound, making the 5 people kneeling below full of tension. Interesting, worthy of being a Chinese, a dream world. The mist was entangled, and the slightly abusive voice was full of expectations. I saw Yimu holding a report from Qin Luo, and there was a hint of impatient waiting in the face that could not be seen clearly. You can't help it anymore. It seems that you want to take advantage of him. Talking to himself, completely ignoring the 5 people kneeling below, I am tut-tut, making it impossible to tell whether it was anger or joy. The time lasted for half an hour, and the 5 people kneeling below also knelt for half an hour, and as time went on, the 5 people became paler and paler, and their backs were even more wet. Finally, perhaps after reading it, I put his eyes on the 5 people below. I heard that many sea areas have been lost. Even the King of Heaven has been lost. It was a very plain question, but in the hearts of the 5 people, it was like a thunderclap that made them tremble uncontrollably. The 5 kneeling people are the only 3 remaining Gorosei, 5 elders, and the 2 rulers of the Tenryubido family. Lord Yim, yes. One of the Gorosei, 5 elders, biting his head and not daring to lift his head, answered cautiously. Trash, I can't even handle this trivial matter. After today, I don't want to hear any news about their existence, any. It was very common, even very gentle, but to the 5 people, it sounded like a 9 secluded hell, making them cold and horrified. Just because the Tenryubido family that once disappeared like this, and Ein's meaning was very clear. That is, after the 5 people passed, the family of Hephaestus and others would be wiped out. It's cruel and ruthless, and it's not even as good as a dog. With a word from he wiped out all existence. It is conceivable that after today, there will be no Hephaestus, Dionysus, etc. in the world. Family. Yes. The 5 people jumped in their hearts, as if they had fallen into the ice cellar, full of fear. There can't be any existing messages. What does that mean? That is to let the family of Hephaestus and others disappear from the world, completely without any grass and no dogs and cats. Lord Yimu, now the King of Heaven is in the hands of the first emperor, do we need to take it back? No, I gave it to him on purpose, how can I get it back? Kneeling on the ground, the 5 Vivi were stunned for a moment, then panicked and swallowed subconsciously. 2. Chapter 402 The First Emperor Pirates, a new day has come, the entire island is almost full of cracks, large and small canyons, or towering hills, or collapsed into pits, it looks like a ruin. Most importantly, half of Caesar's underground world was destroyed. In full swing, countless guards are working overtime for maintenance at the moment, and it has not affected other areas. At most, it is to let the people gossip. After all, the red hair pirates rebelled before they joined the group. This thing is just a spice of life, and there is not much fuss. Time, like quicksand, quietly passed between my fingers, and before I knew it, a week's time just disappeared. During this week, many things have also happened, such as the war between the world government and the Revolutionary Army, which is still in full swing and shows no signs of stopping. Both sides win negative, and the world, except for West Blue, the rest of the place is still in war. As for the Great Route, it is still not calm. Pirates, marines, kingdoms, all kinds of forces are also in endless wars. Slaver groups can be seen everywhere to arrest slaves, kill and auction them. It can be said to be extremely dark. Order, morality, and complete collapse. In order to make money and survive, all means are not compromised. The so-called human nature has long since disappeared. In the New World, except for the place ruled by the first emperor pirates, the same is true for other places. Burning, killing and robbing, everything is extremely useful. It is simply a hell on earth. 1 week is enough for the first emperor pirates to repair the island. For this reason, the island was opened as early as 2 days ago, and what Kuzan did with his abilities attracted countless people of the first emperor pirates. As for Caesar's underground world, it still exists, but some important departments have moved to islands near the central city, such as Caesar's research room. The most important thing is that during this week, Caesar has executed deprivation of all able prisoners, such as Marco, Josu, and now Hephaestus, etc. After all, these people are no longer worth using. Many things were already in Qin Luo's mind, so Qin Luo didn't even interrogate them, and directly let Caesar deprive them of their devil fruits. After all, these people's devil fruits are very strong. It is a pity that the chance of depriving the devil fruit is only half the chance, which is also based on good luck. Second, the first emperor pirates are developing peacefully as usual. The vast territory seems to be prospering. Because of the raging war in the sea, many people pour into the first emperor pirates every day, because the only real pure land in the world is the first emperor pirates. Due to the shock and awe of the Emperor Shihuang of the Shihuang pirates, few forces dared to provoke them. Even if there were some guys who didn't have long eyes. In the end, these people didn't end well. The most important thing is that the peaceful life of the first emperor pirates is simply paradise, and word of mouth has led to a trend of migration all over the world. Especially those rich and powerful people, all dragging their families to make ends meet, even if they live far away from the center of Shihuang Island of Shihuang pirates and live in a remote place, they are satisfied. In the war-torn world, only life is the most precious thing. For this reason, those so-called high-level people tried their best to bribe, causing the original order of the first emperor pirates to become chaotic. Therefore, with the ever-increasing population of the first emperor pirates, Main and Nami are busy and dizzy every day. After all, in a country, large and small things add up to a huge amount. Finally, there was no alternative, Fujitora and others also joined in. Spring Island, which maintains spring all year round, can be said to be in full bloom, and is one of the favorite areas for some children and couples. Because there are too many famous scenic spots owned by the first emperor pirates, Elephant Island, Floating Island, First Emperor Island, Commercial Street and other measures are all unforgettable. Today, Qin Luo rarely hides at home, but takes Kaya out to hang out. Recently, Kaya has been busy with her medical career, and she even opened a medical center on Shihuang Island. Qin Luo's rare company made Kaya seem very happy. These years of busyness are indeed a kind of inner debt for Kaya. And, to be honest, Qin Luo has not taken a good look at his own country, and now he sees the shops around him, which are very lively. On the streets, all kinds of human beings are chatting and laughing peacefully, which makes Qin Luo unable to help. Raised a small sense of pride. Qin Luo, let's go there and see, it's so lively. With a smile on her face, Kaya pointed to the noisy area with several floors in front of her, obviously wanting to join in the fun. After all, watching the fun has always been very attractive. Taking the lead, Kaya pulled Qin Luo and ran towards the lively area. And Qin Luo, wearing a silver-white mask, only showed half of his face. After all, his reputation is not small now. Shihuang Island is the center of the Shihuang pirates. The people who live here are more or less right. Qin Luo knew something. In order not to cause any chain reaction, Qin Luo put on a mask before going out. One big and one small, they are all active fanatics. Looking at Kaya, who was desperately squeezed into the crowd, Qin Luo rubbed his forehead, full of laughter. Stop. Kaya squeezed into the crowd, and what caught her eye was not so-called liveliness, but cruelty and anger. I saw the center of the crowd, and a large area was emptied. At this moment, there was a young man who looked like a noble, followed by 4 black-clothed bodyguards, holding a rein in his hand, and at the other end, a long-handed clan kneeling on the ground. Slave. At this moment, the aristocratic youth was holding a leather whip and was whipping again and again. It's just like treating a dog. It doesn't take this long-handed clan as a human at all. In just a short moment, the long-handed clan's body is full of bloodstains and scarred. I thought it was a lively scene of joy to see and hear, but I didn't expect it to be such a cruel scene. Whether it was nature or education, Kaya couldn't accept it. Kaya blushed and looked at the noble youth, her eyes full of anger. The appearance of Kaya makes expensive. The clan youth's eyes lit up, and a trace of cruel torment flashed, because Kaya was first class in terms of appearance and temperament. At this moment, the young nobles were already thinking about how to go back to torture. Catch her for me, I want her to be my slave. Full of greed, the young man did not hide his distorted sense of extrameness. Yes, sir. Behind, 4 bodyguards, one appeared, grabbed Kaya without saying a word, with a very disdainful expression, because Kaya looked too weak. Bang! With a whimper, the bodyguard, who was originally dismissive, knelt on the ground on the spot, hugged his stomach, and the veins on his face jumped. HMPH. I really think that Miss Ben is a vegetarian. Withdrawing the small fist, Kaya glanced at the young man provocatively, and raised it with great pride, full of threats. Chapter 403_. All around, some onlookers also applauded. Although everyone in the First Emperor Pirates is equal, the class situation exists everywhere. When the aristocratic young man abused the slaves, some people came out to fight the injustice, but it was all solved by those bodyguards. For this reason, no one came forward with the mentality that one more thing is worse than one less thing. However, there are smart residents who ran to the branch of the escort, and the purpose is self-evident. Come on, catch her for me, and I'll have a good time tonight. The more he looked, the more delighted he became, and the aristocratic youth looked at Kaya even more greedily, and could no longer hold back, because this cute girl was so beautiful. Yes, sir. The 2 bodyguards stood up and took out guns from their waists, feeling full of threats. However, Kaya is still disdainful, and the little musket just wants to threaten Miss Ben. Do you really think that my cultivation is in vain? Not only was Kaya not afraid, but on the contrary, she was eager to try. However, before Kaya could act, the crowd outside seemed to have encountered a resistance and separated out of thin air. Chin Luo approached, looking at the scene in front of him, his face turned cold. If I remember correctly, I have given an order that no slaves are allowed, but what is in front of me? Chin Luo, they went too far. Kaya also turned her head and looked at Chin Luo indignantly. Seeing that, she was very angry. Here comes another guy looking for death and kills me. The aristocratic young man, with an arrogant face, did not take Chin Luo in the slightest, and gave an order directly. Bang! The musket sprayed, and a bullet went straight to Chin Luo's forehead. His eyes were dull, Chin Luo didn't move, the bullet hit his forehead, not even a trace was left, a trace of conqueror spread, and several bodyguards, with their pupils shriveled on the spot, knelt on the ground full of fear, bleeding from the 7 orifices, just so lost life. I don't even know how to die. Lowly awful, I'm an aristocrat, kneel down for me now, otherwise, I'll destroy you all. Even if the bodyguard died inexplicably, the aristocratic youth did not change his arrogance at all. On the contrary, he became more and more powerful. If he didn't know it, he thought it was Tenryubito. His eyes became colder and colder. Chin Luo did not speak from the beginning to the end, because the other party did not have the qualifications. Conqueror, covered, the youth's 7 orifices bled, his pupils lost color, and he fell to the ground. At this moment, the 2 guards pushed the crowd away extremely arrogantly. Looking at the young man who fell to the ground, they couldn't help but get angry. You must know that this idiot noble family has given them a lot of benefits. To die here now is a lot of trouble for them. Untouchable, do you know who he is? Without asking anything, the guards pointed at Chin Luo's nose, and the other person took out the handcuffs. Looking at the 2 strong men in guards, Chin Luo frowned, because this is not a good phenomenon. Even the escort team is full of personal pockets, so what is the difference between the First Emperor Pirates and the world government? It seems that it has been a long time since the knife was used, and some people have developed some ideas that they should not have. The most important thing is that this kind of thing still happened on Spring Island. Even on the edge of Spring Island, it made Chin Luo intolerable. There are no slaves in the First Emperor Pirates. This is not just talk, but now, no one has exposed such a big thing, and Maine has not dealt with it. What does this mean? Seriously, these things may have been kept in the dark by Maine, not to mention Qin Luo, who is a shopkeeper. Obviously, the booth of the First Emperor Pirates is now big, and all the drawbacks that should appear have begun to appear. Especially now that the world is in turmoil, and the lives of the First Emperor Pirates are on the list every day. Moreover, now that the First Emperor Pirates live and work in peace and contentment, for some people, there is a natural sense of superiority. His eyes narrowed, and a huge pressure directly pushed the two guards to their knees. This time, Qin Luo already had a plan. Qin Luo still has some understanding of the system of the escort team, a team of 5 people, a small team of 10 people, doubled in turn, until finally Kuzan is the big commander. Boy, dare to go wild in the First Emperor Pirates, it seems that you are impatient, you wait for me. Looking up with difficulty, a strong man took out a phone bug, obviously looking for someone. Are you all right? Situation was under control for the time being. Kaya lifted up the long-handed clan who was covered in scars, looked at the collar on the neck, and was about to open it. No, this is a slave circle that controls slaves. If you don't pay attention, it will explode. The long-handed clan is obedient, obviously not the residents of the First Emperor Pirates. It is very likely that the young man brought it back from the outside world. Kaya, I'm coming. Stepping forward, before the long-handed clan could react, they ripped apart the slave circle and threw it in the air. Along with the huge explosion, a cloud of gunpowder rose up, disturbing everyone nearby. Not far away, more than a dozen guards rushed over, apparently receiving the news. Get out of the way, escort to enforce the law. It didn't take long for the crowd to be separated again, and a middle-aged man with a long knife on his waist, with a dozen guards, rushed into the scene. However, before he could speak, he inadvertently glanced at Kaya, then rubbed his eyes uncertainly, opened his mouth wide, and just saw Qin Luo who had turned around. Even if it was covered by half a mask, the captain was also frightened and knelt on the ground on the spot. See the Emperor. Drenched in cold sweat and trembling violently, the captain of the escort team almost gasped. He would never mistake this figure because he had seen it from a distance. And the words of the captain of the escort team were like a shocking shock, and the entire scene was audible. Then, at a glance, both the guards and the people knelt on the ground. I have seen the Emperor. Deafening, excitement, admiration, awe, all kinds of emotions, appeared in the audience. At this moment, no one doubted the words of the captain of the escort team, because no one dared to pretend to be the Emperor in the First Emperor Pirates. This matter, I will give an explanation to the people of the First Emperor Pirates. The deep cold voice, like the cold wind, made all those kneeling on the ground freeze to the core. Now even a fool knows that their king is angry, and the consequence is a corpse. Congratulations to the Emperor. Soaring up, Qin Luo took Kaya away, and he was no longer in the mood to go shopping. This kind of thing happened even in Shuang Island. Qin Luo couldn't imagine how tragic the remote areas of Shuang pirates would be. This country was what he had hoped for, and he had been bewildered by its appearance all along. Now, anyone who tried to destroy his longing wish would have to die. Chapter 404 Returning to the central city with a livid face, Qin Luo held a meeting first. It didn't take long for the entire hall to be filled with people. Everyone who came felt the cold breath emanating from Qin Luo on the throne, and couldn't help but be stunned. As for Kaya, she had already gone to the back garden. I need an explanation. With his eyes low, Qin Luo looked at Ma Yin. After so long, he believed that Ma Yin had already learned the news. Captain, I opened his mouth. Maine wanted to explain, but she didn't know what to say. Forget it, it's impossible for you to be exhausted with such a big stall. It's impossible to cover everything. Qin Luo didn't mean to blame Maine. After all, Qin Luo saw all the contributions Maine made over the years. Let the Bureau of Investigation investigate. All involved, no matter how old or young, will all be exterminated. Murderous, Qin Luo did not explain, but gave an order. Let other things go first. This matter must be resolved first. and I don't care what method you use. In short, within 3 days, it must be resolved. As for some outsiders, anyone who violates the laws of the first Emperor Pirates will not stay, and all will be executed. Deeply cold words fell. Perona and the others who didn't know why, or Zong couldn't make up their minds, and the whole audience was stunned. What's the situation? The captain looks a little grumpy. Has something happened? Why don't you know? After that, Qin Luo left the hall directly and handed over to Maine. After Qin Luo left, everyone learned the matter from Ma Yin's mouth. Among them, Kuzan was the one who reacted the most, because with Qin Luo's order, they didn't know how many people would lose their lives. Fortunately, they were controlled by everyone, so in the end, Maine was upset, and she even directly asked someone to chain Kuzan with Seastone, and planned to release it 3 days later, so as not to cause any trouble for herself. From that day on, the Feast of Slaughter bloomed in the First Emperor Pirates. And this bloom lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. During this period, the entire First Emperor Pirates was shrouded in a kind of fear, causing people to panic and blood to flow. When the First Emperor's army was dispatched, as long as they were found by the Intelligence Bureau, no matter whether they were wronged or innocent, all of them would be left alone, and all of them would be executed. Seriously, the entire family would be destroyed. The bones are like mountains, and it is said that the strong bloody smell lasted for a full day after the event before gradually disappearing. And this time, the Great Purge once made the First Emperor's reputation once again resounded throughout the world. 90 million, a full 90 million, whether it was a native of the First Emperor Pirates or an outsider, all added up, a total of 90 million died. This number shocked the entire First Emperor Pirates. Among them, some self-righteous nobles were wiped out. And this is not the end. Because of the tens of millions of escorts, there was also a major purge, which directly shrunk by 2/10. That is to say, among the 10 million escorts, at least 2 million were implicated and then executed. There are also some ministers of the First Emperor Pirates, the same is true. Of course, with such a huge purge, riots will definitely occur, but under the deterrence of the First Emperor's army, resistance is death. Under the slaughtering knives of the mountains of corpses and the sea of mourning, the First Emperor Pirates got Kingming, not even a broken bone, because more than 90% of the people of the First Emperor Pirates supported them. King's order. With the 3-day massacre, the policies of the First Emperor Pirates were resolutely implemented, whether it was the center of the First Emperor Pirates or the remote areas. Especially to deal with foreign immigrants, Maine made a lot of strict agreements. If you can't accept it, you will leave, but if you accept it, but you are doing things in the First Emperor Pirates, then I'm sorry, waiting for you, it is the erasure of the entire family. For 3 days, in the whole territory of the First Emperor Pirates, there were those who complained, those who resisted, and those who applauded, and their lives were all different. But fortunately, 3 days, for some people, life is like a year, and for others, it is just a blink of an eye. Before we knew it, the great cleansing was over, a new day of peaceful life, and with the everlasting sunshine, the bloody depression that shrouded the First Emperor Pirates dissipated. Order has also been restored in various places. On the same day, countless people who suffered hardships gathered in the central square of Shuang Island, looking in the direction of the central city and praying silently. It can be found that many of them are outsiders, and these people are all slaves, and some people who can't see hope. At this moment, they are kneeling on the big square, thanking the murderous and maddened man who is widely rumored in the outside world. The man who killed humanity, and now, this man, they are grateful. Because it was this man who lost his conscience, who rescued them. In this country, all equality and slavery have been accompanied by endless corpses and blood, proclaiming the determination of the Emperor of the First Emperor Pirates. In this morbid world, the reality is actually not complicated, because you only need to kill once. You can solve many problems. If one is not enough, then twice. As for the hidden disadvantages, you only need to maintain the supreme power, then everything can be suppressed. This is the supremacy of strength that Qin Luo pursues. Sometimes, moving your head is far less quick and convenient than fists. In the main hall of the First Emperor Pirates, Qin is sitting on the throne at this moment. It is rare to watch some government affairs of the First Emperor Pirates. Below, Main and Nami are busy dealing with other things. The entire spacious hall looks like somewhat dull. In the past 3 days, Main hadn't slept well, because Qin order made the First Emperor Pirates shake unbearably, and the remaining problems caused them to break their heads. Diaresis Captain, Diaresis. At this moment, Bej walked in from the door, in a good mood. Looking back from the government affairs, Qin smiled at Bej, and said jokingly, "What's wrong? What good things happened? So happy." "Captain, now there are hundreds of thousands of people gathered in Peace Square, all of them are grateful to you." Bej's words made Main Qian Deshao raise his head. After all, the big purge didn't end for a long time. It stands to reason that this scene is impossible. Now the Skull Island of the First Emperor Pirates has once again increased. Layer. That's right, before this big purge, the First Emperor Pirates had happened once or twice, and now it has been officially changed to Skull Island by Caesar. It can also be said to be another landscape of the First Emperor Pirates, but this landscape, somewhat exciting and scary. As for a series of diseases caused by too many corpses, there is no such thing at all. After all, Caesar is there, and it only needs some inventions, and it can be done easily. Really? Not much surprised, Qin just smiled. It seems that the captain's decision is right. In short, this cleaning has solved a lot of problems, and the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Isho tactfully stretched her waist, and showed her criminally slender figure, bumpy and upturned, in everyone's eyes. Arrest. Chapter 405 But at this relaxed time, outside the hall, a man with a livid face walked in angrily. Unsurprisingly, it was Kuzan who lifted the restrictions. Now, it is obvious that he came to settle accounts after the fall. "I want an explanation." Standing beside Bej, Kuzan raised his head, looked at Qin angrily, and questioned him. About Kuzan. Although the other party has joined the First Emperor Pirates, and the time is not short, Kuzan's indecision and Qin decisiveness have formed a sharp contrast. Such justice will fail. Kuzan's questioning, Qin did not speak, just watched calmly. "Do you know how many people died this time? A total of 90 million, this number is only a lot more, and how many innocent people?" Roaring violently, for the past 3 days, he was restricted and could only watch countless people of the First Emperor Pirates die. He felt a fire in his heart. After letting him know a little about the situation, he kept asking questions. Kuzan will never object to cleaning up some black sheep, but, like Qin this large-scale massacre, in which innocent people are affected, will definitely exist, and this kind of massacre is not 100, nor 1,000, but tens of thousands, tens of millions, close to 100 million. The numbers, how shocking, made Kuzan breathless. This kind of justice, he admits, is right, because the foundation of a peaceful world must be blood and corpses piled up. But, can you not be so rude, even if it is a little more peaceful? He, Kuzan, can accept it. But this kind of brutal treatment, Kuzan does not agree, let alone those who are really innocent. How unfair it is for some people who are not guilty of death. They only need a chance, they can change, so I can really enjoy life, but now, with Qin words, all of them are executed, and there is no chance of redemption. The law is no longer harsh, but there is no hope at all. Among them, there are countless sadness and anger in Kuzan, so even if he knew that he would anger Qin he stood here angrily and questioned. Because he didn't want such a beautiful First Emperor Pirates, because Qin CGAC insisted on going his own way, and some harsh treatments that seemed to be very beneficial to the present, were destroyed. He has already fallen in love with this country, and it is because he likes it that Kuzan is standing here today. Just for the justice in my heart. Captain, Kuzan may be over his head. Main obviously knew what Kuzan meant. However, Kuzan's words were too direct. Fortunately, There were no outsiders here. Otherwise, Qinluo would have already made his move, and there would have been no time to listen to Kuzan's anger. This also shows the other side of Qinluo. When you are all your own people, you cannot give me face, but when there are outsiders, it is not a nature. After all, outside, Qinluo is the captain of everyone, and he should obey Qinluo's orders instead of refuting. Qinluo has given everyone the respect they deserve, so others must also give Qinluo the respect they deserve, especially in front of outsiders. Qinluo's identity is their captain, their leader, and even a king. Even if it is a trivial matter that goes against common sense, as long as it is an order from Qinluo, everyone will follow the order to solve it, instead of refuting or even joking as before. But Kuzan didn't understand, because in his opinion, if there is a mistake, it must be corrected. This is a responsibility, and it is his responsibility to join the First Emperor pirates. I can't tell if this is right or wrong, but don't forget, this world is not normal. Even the most basic principles are formulated by the party with the biggest fist. The weak are not even qualified to choose death. In fact, Qinluo is not angry now, but his expression is still the same, looking a little cold. Bej stood beside Fujitora, trying to stop Kuzan. After all, it was too much, not good. Bej, you don't have to stop him, let him go on. A wave of his hand, Qinluo stopped Bej, then motioned for Kuzan to continue roaring. Helpless expression, Bej sat aside and sighed. How could they not know the drawbacks of this big purge? However, for the future of the First Emperor pirates, they must be ruthless. Originally, Kuzan thought Qinluo would be angry, but now Qinluo said he didn't know what to say for a while, and was a little silent. In fact, Kuzan is not stupid, but there are some things that he can't stand, even if he knows that the final result will outweigh the disadvantages. What he couldn't get over was always the hurdle in his heart. The silence of Kuzan made Qinluo a little amused, but he turned his head and motioned for Main to throw the documents of this incident to Kuzan. Take a good look. I don't care who is right or wrong, I only know that whoever dares to stretch his claws to destroy the First Emperor pirates, I will kill his entire clan. Now, most of the system of the First Emperor pirates is based on I made it. Some people enjoy enough peaceful life, like making something special. In this case, I will fulfill him and make his whole family special. Don't forget, strictly speaking, you should also die, because you are the commander of the escort team, but 2/10 of them, like parasites, devour the First Emperor pirates. Young and Yin are disobedient, and even the order I gave myself, the system of not allowing slaves, dares to cover up. Do you think I will let it go? The document in Main's hand, Kuzan did not respond to Qinluo's questioning, but just looked at the information inside. Kuzan read the document. Qinluo's expression suddenly became serious. Kuzan, I will now officially warn you once and for the last time that if you challenge my authority like this again in a specific environment in the future, I will kill you without hesitation. Now, you can make a decision, yes, go or stay, it's up to you, you only have one day. Speaking, Qinluo didn't even look at Kuzan, and set his eyes on Main. Divide the most important laws of the First Emperor pirates, and add a sentence after each one. Except for those who come from the First Emperor pirates, any one of the residents of the First Emperor pirates commits this crime, and the whole family will be executed. The ends of the earth, all the people who are related, all put to death. Among them, if the above two are involved with the law enforcers of the First Emperor pirates, the First Emperor pirates will be directly cleaned up. Extremely sensible. This time, Qinluo made up his mind. It can be said that it is extremely harsh. In troubled times, heavy code is used. Only when everyone is afraid will they remember what to do and what not to do. As for what kind of riots this law will cause, Qinluo doesn't care at all, because absolute power is enough to flatten everything. Chapter 406 Captain, won't it be too? Main was stunned for a moment. This is simply no way back. As long as he violates, not only himself, but also his related people, there is no probation. Let me know now. The entire territory of the first Emperor pirates, as well as the place of shelter, must be clear. If one day, unfortunately, I encounter it, I won't care how many people die. Chest rose and fell violently. Kuzan didn't expect that Qin Luo not only didn't take the burial, but became even more brutal. Go back and think about it. Sometimes I'm good at talking, but sometimes, I don't hesitate. Kuzan with cold eyes, Qin Luo disappeared directly from the throne. Kuzan, some things need to be divided into occasions. Sighing slightly, Bej patted Kuzan on the shoulder, and then walked out of the hall. After all, there are some things in the first Emperor pirates that he is handling. And looked at the empty hall. After thinking about it, she decided to enlighten Fujitora. On this day, no one knew what Main told Fujitora, but the two stayed together for a long time. Compared to the cleanliness in the main hall, it has only experienced a life that has not been restored for a long time after the big cleaning, and it has once again caused a sensation. But this time, it was exciting and happy. With the peace square as the center, it quickly radiated to the entire territory of the first Emperor pirates. It didn't take long for even Fishman Island to be notified. As for West Blue, at present Maine has no plans to take over, but just stands behind, because the distance is too far and it is not easy to manage. Your Majesty is wise. The Emperor lives 100 years. The Emperor is my savior. Cheering and shouting, whether it was the residents of the first Emperor pirates or some outsider slaves, in short, the people living at the bottom all looked in the direction of the Sky City and shouted. Although it seems that these laws are very harsh, they are harsh, and no one will touch them. Only in this way, the laws of the first Emperor pirates are the real laws. As for the question of inhumanity, immorality, and inhumanity, it is an irony in this sick world. Morality can only be established when more than half of the people in the world agree with morality. Before that, morality could be formulated by those with big fists. This is the world of pirates. For a time, some outsiders could not help but resist, and many nobles from other countries also left because of this. On the contrary, many people without status and status, like moths to a flame, desperately wanted to live in the first Emperor pirates. Because here is their paradise. The cheers of the people at the bottom did not affect the order of the first Emperor pirates, because as the largest institutions of the first Emperor pirates, changes have ushered in. The first Emperor pirates, strictly speaking, there are only two institutions. One is the first Emperor's army, but those who can enter the first Emperor's army are either artificial devil fruits or artificial weapon fruits, as well as other fighting techniques, swordsmen, hockey, etc. Wait, this time, the first Emperor's army was also implicated a little, but not many, just a few thousand. Of course, all of them have disappeared from the world. The biggest change belongs to the escort team. This time, the escort team can be said to challenge Qin Luo's nerves. For this reason, a department was established like this, and the number of people in it was the best in the first Emperor's army. Shenyi is the name of this department, and the orders they execute are to monitor the guards and some private affairs of the first Emperor pirates, and hang it in the intelligence department, under the gods. In addition to the department of Shenyi, the first Emperor pirates added another department, that is Shen-Tu. As for what Shen-Er did, it was related to the ministers of the first Emperor pirates and some civilian officials, and Main directly managed them. Maybe there will be 3 gods and 4 gods in the future, but these will appear as things develop. If the timeline of this chapter is long, let's write that the protagonist has a daughter. Let's see who gave birth to it. It's more appropriate. Empress, let's just say that he has slept before. After leaving the hall, Qin Luo didn't think about the first Emperor pirates anymore. After all, he had delegated power to everything. It can be said that everything is under his control. In the eyes of some people, Qin Luo is not a real ruler, but is stupid like a nouveau riche. But Qin Luo doesn't care, because he knows what to do and what to hold. Floating Sky Island Group is a suspension of various islands. High mountains and flowing water, water lakes and waves. It can be found that in these island groups, flying white cranes and various animals live happily here. Originally, Maine wanted to develop these islands, such as building some pavilions or experimental bases on them, but because of the uncertainty of floating islands, this idea has never been implemented. Fortunately, Caesar has already started to study how to keep these islands floating. The reason why the suspended islands can be suspended is because of the special sea of clouds. As long as the structure of the sea of clouds is understood, then, I believe that these island groups will not fall. On this day, Prometheus, Napoleon, and Zeus, with the permission of Chin Luo, were going to play in Caesar's laboratory, mainly because Napoleon and Zeus saw that Prometheus ate magma fruit, and their strength was rubbish. Climbing up, became the boss, and wanted to eat a devil fruit. 0. The research institute is still under the control of the First Emperor's army. The First Emperor's army must know about these three things. Therefore, without the slightest obstruction, the three things swaggered into the mountain. Caesar knew about the arrival of the three things right away, but he didn't care about it. He just told them what to let them touch and what not to touch. Everyone here knows. The three things stopped one step at a time, and looked curiously at a world that was completely different from the outside. It didn't take long for them to lose interest. In the end, I came to Caesar's research room, but at this time Caesar was studying the Sea of Clouds, so after a word, he entered the special research laboratory. In the outer chamber, there is nothing dangerous, otherwise, Caesar will not rest assured that they will stay here. Huh, what is this? Prometheus flies to a messy table full of bizarre gadgets. Reaching out, I accidentally touched a ball, and then the entire outer room was darkened, and then, the endless starry sky appeared. Wow! As if they were close at hand, they looked at the surrounding stars, touched them with their hands, and they all passed through. So pretty. Zeus's eyes glowed, looking at the surrounding starry sky, turning around, very happy. 2. Chapter 407 _ Wow, there are devil fruits here. Suddenly, Napoleon, who was loitering, suddenly flew on a platform, where various patterned fruits were scattered on it. Since Prometheus ate magma fruit, the strength of the three brothers climbed to the first place, which made Zeus and Napoleon think about devil fruit more than once. However, this kind of thinking was forgotten in the blink of an eye. Now that I saw so many devil fruits, my originally stagnant thoughts suddenly became active. Where is it? Napoleon was the most active, and flew to Zeus's side all of a sudden. His eyes glowed at the devil fruit on the platform, and his saliva flowed down. Humph, when I eat the devil fruit, my strength will increase greatly, and I will be the boss. Zeus was already a little impatient. Don't eat it yet, in case it's some waste ability. Napoleon stopped Zeus and waited by himself. Humans are high IQ animals, and if you want to pick them, you can pick the most powerful fruits. There are words next to it. But I don't know. Idiot, don't you know such a simple word? Napoleon looked contemptuous. What did these words read? Zeus was stunned, and then asked Napoleon. This, let me see. Leaning closer, Napoleon tried his best to widen his eyes, and after looking for a while, Napoleon said confidently, I know it, but they don't seem to recognize me. Well, it makes sense, I think so too. Zeus did not refute, but nodded in agreement. 2 idiots. At this time, Prometheus came over and spoke first, with contempt in his eyes. Che, talk as if you know each other. Napoleon and Zeus, who squinted their eyes first, were full of disgust. Get out of the way. Prometheus felt insulted, squeezed directly between Zeus and Napoleon, looked at a labeled devil fruit, studied for a moment, and was confident that, this devil fruit is a dog fruit, zone, S. True or false? Napoleon and Zeus looked in disbelief. Of course, I lied to you to have a meal. You're amazing, what is this called? Zeus and Napoleon pointed to a labeled devil fruit next to them and looked at Prometheus. This. Scratching his head, Prometheus looked at it for a long time, but couldn't say it. I remember this fruit, it seems to be called sheep fruit, and this one, mosquito fruit. These are zone. Zeus on the side, as if he had learned some words, immediately called out the labeled devil fruit. Ah, zone, it doesn't look good. Napoleon's face was full of loss. Even if they didn't know how to read, they could still say it. They still knew the three most basic categories of devil fruits. Basically, all of them were ordinary zones. Among them, a few were ancient species, but unfortunately, mythical didn't have a single one. There seems to be no mythical, but Paramesha has several. Through the zone platform, the three things gathered on another platform, but these devil fruits were all Paramesha-s. Hey, what is the special Paramesha? Looking at one of the dark green fruits, with the label on it, Zeus read out, poisonous fruit. I know, I have heard from the captain that this poisonous fruit is a special Paramesha, a very powerful one. It seems that the previous owner was Shichibukai, but he was killed. Prometheus raised his little hand and said the poisonous fruit. Here's a logia, tainted fruit, that doesn't sound like a big deal. I have decided, I want to eat this poisonous fruit. Transformed into hands, holding a poisonous fruit, Zeus was dripping saliva. Napoleon saw that Zeus had found what he wanted, and his eyes began to restless, and he wandered around until he came to a platform of weapons. Stopping, Napoleon swallowed and looked at some weapons on the platform. For some reason, he felt an impulse. If someone familiar is here, you can see that the two weapons placed at the top of the platform are the first-generation Gush and the Western sword, both of which are supremely fast swords. That's right, the original Onito was the Gorosei, 5 elders, and the Western sword was the red-haired one. Unfortunately, now, they are all placed here until the next master is found. The devil fruit here, perhaps some strange weapons, are all deprived from the ability person, because the probability of depriving the devil fruit is only half. For this reason, like the phoenix fruit, air fruit, and clone fruit, all of them have failed. There are only a few successful ones. However, the diamond fruit, the pollution fruit, and the painting fruit were successfully deprived from Jozu, Atlas, Conjuro, etc. At this moment, they are placed here and temporarily studied by Caesar. As for Gush and Western sword, it is also easy to understand. If I die, the weapon will automatically become a trophy. Running to the platform, Napoleon was dripping with saliva, and instinctively told him that as long as he ate these swords, he would become powerful. This feeling has actually appeared long ago. Because Perona's magic sword also gave Napoleon this feeling, but due to Perona's suppression, Napoleon has been suppressing his appetite, but now, looking at the two long swords lying in front of him, Napoleon kept swallowing saliva. Perhaps sensing Napoleon's threat, Gush and the Western sword trembled, as if they were alive, revealing childlike emotions. I can't wait, I want to eat. He opened his mouth wide, and Zeus hurried, biting the poisonous fruit in one bite, but as soon as he put it in his mouth, his face was blue and purple, and he lay motionless on the ground. Zeus, what's wrong? The situation of Zeus shocked the other two, but it was okay. After a while, Zeus got up. It's okay, it's just too bad to eat. It was Napoleon's turn to perform. Like Zeus' star language, Napoleon opened his mouth directly, biting at the Western sword bit by bit like eating ice cream. However, the only difference is that when Napoleon eats it, there is no taste. However, this is not the most bizarre, because the most bizarre is why Napoleon can eat the Western sword. You must know, the supreme knife, any one, its material is extremely hard. It can be said that in the world, it can make the thing that is damaged by the supreme sword as a problem, whether it exists or not. However, Napoleon was like a snack, except for some squeaks, although it is hard, it easily shatters the Western sword. It has to be said that it is a miracle, and perhaps the principle that exists in it is simply beyond common sense. The most important thing is that when Napoleon ate the Western sword, a childlike pain sounded in his ear. However, every time Napoleon took a bite, he felt his spirit rise inexplicably, so he became more and more energetic. As for why Napoleon chose the Western sword instead of the first-generation Gito, it was because Napoleon felt that the first-generation Guido was a little dangerous, so he chose the Western-style sword as a second priority. Because compared to the evil of the first generation of Kitaru, the Western sword appears to be milder. Of course, Napoleon couldn't explain this feeling, but he instinctively felt that the Western sword was the best. After each got what they wanted, the three gadgets sneaked and fled the research room without even saying hello. Chapter 408 _ Let's try our abilities. Self-confidence expanded. Zeus' originally white body had changed at this moment, and from a distance, it was purple and purple, extremely infiltrating. And Napoleon, no longer a hat, has been completely shaped into a giant sword, and I don't know what the situation is. In short, it exudes an inexplicable sense of oppression. Originally, Prometheus, Zeus, and Napoleon were a kind of strange living beings. The death of Bigmom not only did not affect them, but lifted their shackles. Even inanimate weapons can eat devil fruits, not to mention the three special Mihos Prometheus. Napoleon readily accepted Zeus' proposal, because he felt that his physical strength was rising, and he couldn't wait to kill the quartet. Let's go to the forest over there. Napoleon pointed in one direction, then disappeared in the blink of an eye. After a while, the sky burst into flames, a black cloud shone with purple-red thunder, and the breath was violent. Crack! Purple 26 red thunder slashed down, and in the blink of an eye, it was riddled with holes, and a towering giant tree was destroyed. In situ, a large pit was left. Among them, green-red venom was faintly visible, corroding the ground. Wow, Zeus, you are amazing. Both Prometheus and Napoleon were stunned. If Zeus could only release ordinary thunder in the past, now, there are not only thunder, but also poison. Poisonous thunder, who dares to touch it? Ha ha, I've become stronger, I've become stronger. Joyfully unable to find his head, Zeus returned to his original form, flying around excitedly in midair. Next, look at me. On the one hand, Napoleon snorted for himself, turned it into a giant sword, flashed with a deep cold breath, and swung it violently. In an instant, the sand and stones flew away, the whole ground was cracked, and a ravine that could not be seen, shot straight into the sky. Looking at the divided abyss in front of him, Prometheus opened his mouth again. Do you want to be so scary? Prometheus, who was standing on the heads of Zeus and Napoleon, glared. He felt that his previous advantages were gone. See. Napoleon was also excited that he couldn't find the north, like a child who got a toy and showed it off. This time we go back, we must let everyone take a good look at our greatness. Very inflated, Zeus raised his chin high. To surprise them. Napoleon also chimed in. Otherwise, let's form a team. Don't powerful people have nicknames? We are all so strong. Prometheus suddenly made a proposal. Yes. The three things suddenly got up. Think about it, what is the name of our team, and our respective nicknames? We must be tall and high, and when we say it, it can make people feel scared. Like the captain's hockey title. Then what is our team called? Noisy and Noisy, each of them expressed their own thoughts, but there was no result. Three things, even in remote areas, the uproar is quite big. For example, Napoleon's knife directly alerted many people, so before entering the imperial city, he was caught by two people. One is Nami, and the other is Perona. Except for these two, others may have noticed, but they did not leave after feeling the breath of Nami and Perona. It's really you. Suspended in the air, Nami hugged her shoulders with her arms and looked at the four guys running out of the woods, as she had expected. Boss Nami, Zeus shrugged. You guys made the sensation just now. Perona, who followed closely behind, raised her eyebrows. She felt an amazing sword energy coming from the sky just now, and she was very familiar with it. She thought she had encountered an attack, and rushed over without saying a word. Boss Perona, Napoleon said awkwardly. Master, I'm stronger now. Can't wait. Zeus took the lead in flying to Nami's side, showing off his muscles. Squinting, Nami glanced at Zeus casually, obviously not caring. Nami's calmness stimulated Zeus, because those eyes were full of doubts. Crack! A purplish-red thunder suddenly slammed into a big tree. On the spot, the giant tree melted, exuding a thin pale red mist, corroding the entire land and leaving a pothole. Nami, who didn't care at first, staring at the smoking pothole, her brows jumping. You ate a devil fruit. Finally facing up, Nami looked at her little follower, a little surprised. Humph, master, I ate the poisonous fruit, and now I can release the poison mine. If there is a tail, it must be up to the sky by now, and Zeus's face is full of confidence. Che, isn't it just eating a devil fruit? I also ate a weapon. Seeing Zeus showing off, Napoleon was indignant and began to show off his strength. A slash passed by, and the jungle in front of him disappeared directly, spreading to the horizon, leaving behind a huge ravine. Beside him, Perona was stunned, staring at the huge ravine, and then looking at Napoleon with shock in his eyes. What weapon did you eat? Is it also a devil fruit? Boss Perona, I didn't eat the devil fruit. I ate a sword, the red-haired sword. I wanted to eat another one, but the other one is a bit fierce. I plan to get stronger, I will eat it again. Quote. Napoleon was triumphant and swayed in the air. Although what Napoleon said was not very clear, Perona still understood. Isn't the red-haired sword a great sword? The other one, isn't it the first-generation ghost? However, whether it is the devil fruit or the supreme sword, it should be somewhere in Caesar. It seems, these three things should have just returned from Caesar. Okay, go back first. A few minutes later, in the mountain behind the imperial city, in a large open space, the first emperor pirates led by Qin Luo appeared here. Everyone's face was a little surprised. What caught everyone's eyes was a huge pothole and a ravine. There is no doubt that it was specially demonstrated by Zeus and Napoleon, so everyone was a little surprised. Because the attacks by Zeus and Napoleon were too powerful. However, this is nothing. The most surprising thing is that Napoleon can eat the supreme knife. This talent is simply against the sky. And Zeus, too, ate the poisonous fruit and combined with the thunder, not only the paralysis and destruction of the thunder, but also the corrosion and poisoning of the poisonous fruit. What is the difference between eating two devil fruits? And it is completely combined, and the combat power has gone directly to several levels. After the performance, Zeus and Napoleon flew in front of the crowd, carefully looking at Qin Luo with out of the corner of their eyes. After all, they didn't get approval to eat the devil fruit this time, and they just ate it secretly, especially now that Qin Luo's expressionless face made Zeus and Napoleon even more uneasy. Others don't have this concern anymore, and they all praised Zeus and Napoleon as they became stronger. Zeus and Napoleon are done. Chapter 409 _ Yes, you three guys should have their own titles. Why don't I call you 3 stars? Qin Luo nodded, satisfied. Yes, Captain. The three things stood together, announcing the birth of this team, and set a goal. Full of childishness and naivety, but at this moment, everyone did not laugh, but applauded. The second said, a peaceful and happy life is still being staged in the first Emperor Pirates. There are huge crowds, and there is an endless stream of people. I have to say that this major cleaning is necessary at present. In short, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Going to the first Emperor Pirates now, even in remote areas, there will be no slaves, and there may be some bullying and unfair things secretly, but on the surface, no one dares to violate the laws of the first Emperor Pirates. In addition, for outsiders, Maine announced some preventive measures. It can be said that the current first Emperor Pirates are prospering every day. The first Emperor Pirates are stable, but the world is even more chaotic. The war between the world government and the Revolutionary Army is still happening, and it is getting more and more intense, and there is no sign of a truce. In addition to the world government and the Revolutionary War, other forces or kingdoms are also fighting for territory. It seems that in a short period of time, the world cannot fall into the previous balance. Captain, this is the latest news. In the hall of the first Emperor Pirates, Qinluo was sitting on the throne. Next to him, Main handed Qinluo a stack of documents. Seeing Qinluo taking the information, Ma Yin explained it next to him. Captain, yesterday on the Great Route, the Revolutionary Army and the world government fought each other, and both were still lost, and the situation was completely out of control. 2 of the Revolutionary Army's 4 major military commanders died, and the world government's army admiral also died. Quote, I think that the world government and the Revolutionary Army have no time to take care of us now, so we plan to take full control of the new world. What do you think, Captain? While reading the materials, I listened to Ma Yin's explanation. Finally, Qinluo put down the materials and asked, is this what you think? Yeah. Main nodded. Tell me your general thoughts, Diaresis. Qinluo's eyes were indifferent, neither objecting nor supporting. The new world is very big, and some places have no value, so I decided to fully control some important islands or routes in the hands of the first Emperor Pirates, and then gradually devour the entire new world, but the captain is needed. You agree to increase the escort and the first Emperor's army, otherwise these places will not be stationed. There are still some forces that need Kid and the others to take action. Main talked about a series of policies for half an hour. There were many directions involved. Although Qinluo didn't quite understand some places, he listened carefully. As for why the first Emperor Pirates did not intervene when the Revolutionary Army and the world government were at war, as long as they were not idiots, they would not do so, because only accumulating strength first was the safest method at present. Otherwise, rashly intervening, accidentally causing a counterattack from the 2 forces, or a truce, would not be good news for the first Emperor Pirates. However, some people say that the Revolutionary Army and the world government are not stupid. With the behemoth of the first Emperor Pirates by his side, why not drag them into the water together? Many people don't understand this question, but Qinluo understands what all this is for, because both the Revolutionary Army and the world government need him, and Qinluo's situation was doomed from the very beginning. But IM&D didn't know. Qinluo already knew everything. Maybe IM knew, because the King of Heaven was sent to Qinluo on purpose. Perhaps among them, only D, that is, Roger, is still in his own abacus. The 3 parties have their own plans, but everything is not at the right time. Since you've made up your mind, let go and do it. After tonight, I'll go to practice. Qinluo didn't give any advice either. Everything was still delegated to Ma Yin's decision, and he would fall into cultivation. Captain, are you going to practice for a year this time? Qinluo didn't speak, just nodded. After all, a year later is an important day. Got it, Main responded. That's it. You and Nami have worked hard. Standing up from the throne, Qinluo said something before leaving. When Main recovered, Qinluo's back had long since disappeared. After receiving the approval, Main began to implement the plan they negotiated in a drastic manner. First of all, it is the expansion of the First Emperor's army and the escort team. The First Emperor's army is excluded first, because most of the people who can enter here are artificial devil fruits, and the rest are other powerful people with outstanding abilities. The personnel selected by the First Emperor's army were also elites selected from the escort team, so Main focused on the expansion of the escort team. As for the First Emperor's army, the progress was somewhat slow. Moreover, the escort team, after going through the last major cleaning, was directly reduced by several million, and until now, there are still some lingering fears, because their emperor, or he didn't get angry, his anger would make people tremble. So much so that these remaining guards have a clean buttocks, and they dare not even think about what it means to be domineering and accepting bribes. However, the expansion of the escort team this time will inevitably bury some uncertain factors. However, it has not been long since the Big Purge. Presumably those with ulterior motives will not have other ideas for the time being. Perhaps in the future, that kind of corruption situation will appear. Main is also very clear about this kind of factor, but that is all in the future. The big deal is to clean it once, but the most important thing at present is to control the new world. It was thought that the expansion of the escort team would be met with some resistance and not many people would participate, but the fact was unexpected. When the news that the escort team was going to expand came out, the first Emperor pirates immediately boiled over, especially the former slaves, or ordinary people, and even rich and noble families, all actively participated. It can be said that it was unprecedentedly popular. As for the escort team, due to the expansion of the number of people, there has also been a real level change. On this point, Qin Luo gave a very good suggestion. According to the ranking of the army in the previous life, from low to high, the squad, platoon, company, battalion, regiment, brigade, division, and group army, the first Emperor pirates happened to be a new country, so the fresh system, good money system, very well implemented. With the expansion of the escort, the original responsibilities were taken over by a new department, the police. That's right, it's the police. As for the guards who originally maintained the order of the first Emperor pirates, they also became the army of the first Emperor pirates, and the most important army of the first Emperor pirates became the special forces of the previous life. The group army, all the direct troops of Bej and others, was completely controlled by the Xiong pirates. Of course, everyone in the escort team is also named, all of the highest level. In short, these changes are quietly changing the first Emperor pirates. If it is said that he wants to build the first Emperor pirates into a truly peaceful country, then Qin Luo can only learn from the country where he lived in his previous life. There may still be grades and other darkness, but it is undeniable that the life of Huasha in his previous life, for this pirate world, it is heaven. Therefore, the first Emperor pirates are changing with each passing day, exuding a sense of vitality. Mix. Chapter 410 Time has always passed quietly, and the increase in the guards of the first Emperor pirates must have attracted a lot of attention from the outside world. After all, the first Emperor pirates are now in a new world, and the worthy overlords are pulling everyone in their every move. Finally, for half a month, the general reform of the first Emperor pirates was completed. This time, the original tens of millions of escorts have doubled again, and perhaps they have not yet formed combat effectiveness, but these, I believe it will take a long time to make the enemy fear. In the New World, in addition to the Windless Belt and the territory of some other forces, there are other no man's land, and the rest are in the hands of the first Emperor pirates. This time, Main's idea is that the whole New World must have 8/10 of the site, which must be included by the first Emperor pirates. It can be said that this goal is a bit huge, because the site of the previous 5 emperors, the first Emperor the pirates have only now mastered 5 or 6/10 of the New World, and there is still a long way to go before 8/10. In the face of the first Emperor pirates' shot, I believe that few forces can withstand it. Now on the bright side, maybe the king of the 5 emperor clowns has that threat. In addition, there are some kingdoms or big pirates, but now, in front of the first emperor pirates, they really can't make any waves. Half a month ago, Qin Luo retreated, and everything of the first emperor pirates fell on Main's head again. At this moment, in the discussion hall, he was discussing the information from the investigation bureau, and the others were also on. Many appeared. Believe I called you here, you should have guessed it. Put under the information, Main looked at the people below who were doing their own things, and her face was full. If you have any task, say it quickly, finish it early, and finish work early. Now, there are several forces in the New World, some trouble, you see who goes. Main looked at the documents next to the crowd and motioned for herself to read. The King of the 5 Clowns. Wanokuni. The Kingdom of Dragu. Giant Clan, Giant Kingdom. Quote. Everyone looked at the information and looked at each other, sparks flickering in the air. The King of Clowns, it's mine. Taking the lead, Nami took aim at the most powerful person at present. I'm going to. Perona snorted coldly. As for Kuzan and Fujitora, not that idea at all. Okay, I choose the Kingdom of Dragu. The big shrimp is robbed, then only the small shrimp can be robbed, and Bej and others are fighting for it. I go to Wano-kuni. Giants. I'll go. Noisy and noisy, the entire hall fell into a war of words for a while, which was even more intense than the battle. Okay, let's draw lots. Interrupting everyone's noise, Maine slapped the table, a little fierce. HMPH. Everyone snorted coldly. After a while, it finally came to the conclusion that the King of Clowns was conquered by Nami and Sun Wukong, Tessero, Zeus, Supernova Kid and others. Wano-kuni was in charge of Perona, Beige, Napoleon, Supernova Drake, and the giant kingdom was Prometheus, Supernova Scratchman to conquer. As for other forces, it is up to others to choose freely. Both sides have brought 50,000 or 100,000 First Emperor troops and guards, and the lineup can be said to be very large. On the contrary, Kuzan, the fanatical fighters like Nami, seemed too lazy to move, so he did not participate, so he had to stay with the First Emperor pirates, and Fujitora, instead of Kuzan, became the commander of the escort team. Open. When a strong enemy is drawn, he will be pleased, and when he draws a weak force, he will swear and swear, such as Perona and others. Originally, there were no Zeus, Prometheus and Napoleon. However, the three guys had greatly increased their strength, inflated their self-confidence, and were shameless, so they joined. After choosing, let's go and prepare individually. What should I do if I leave it? Don't disturb me to deal with things. With a wave of her hand, Maine blasted everyone away. On this day, the whole new world was boiling, and it even affected the Great Root and the Four Seas. Finally, the First Emperor pirates couldn't help it and started to attack. But this time, the First Emperor pirates did not intervene in the war between the Revolutionary Army and the world government. Instead, they began to attack the New World, which was expected and unexpected by everyone. At least, for some forces in the New World, this is a big threat. In the Clown Land, in the base camp in the depths, with Buggy as the head, everyone's faces are full of prudence. Is the news accurate? Buggy stood in the main hall. CGAC looked at all the men who were brought out from Impel down below, and asked a pirate who was managing intelligence. Captain, it has been confirmed that the First Emperor pirates have attacked us. Below, the pirate who manages the information has no worries on his face. On the contrary, he is very excited. Ugly face, Buggy looked at Mr. Point 3 next to him, and there was some anger in his eyes. Captain, there is no way to avoid it. Mr. 3 sighed, even if he and others didn't cause trouble, trouble would come. Did the First Emperor personally take action? Buggy's eyes flickered, full of majesty. No, it's Thor Nami leading the team. HMPH, it seems that everyone underestimates me. If that's the case, then let's fight. This time, Buggy couldn't stand it anymore. Go down and get ready for battle. His eyes were a little scary, and Buggy was a completely different person. Yes, Captain. Below, all the pirates roared, full of excitement, with no intention of retreating. Mr. 3, you also go down and prepare. Yes, Captain. Looking at Buggy, who had changed completely, Mr. Point 3 knew that the real King of Clowns was back. For a time, only Buggy was left in the whole scene. Pulling a phone bug out of his pocket, Buggy dialed. At the same time, Wano-kuni, the Kingdom of Giants, and other forces also learned the news. Each force was extremely heavy, especially the ordinary people living in some countries. When they heard the news that the First Emperor pirates would attack, they panicked on the spot. Stand up. The name of the Shadow Man of the tree, let alone the top combat power of the First Emperor pirates, which one is not the top powerhouse? And, it's all crazy people. The most important thing is that the First Emperor's army and escort team of the First Emperor pirates also accompanied them. There are tens of thousands of them together. In the face of this force, who can resist a single force? Therefore, before the war started, the territories of some forces began to get out of control. After all, the reputation of the First Emperor is not just talking about it. So far, how many ethnic groups and countries have been directly and indirectly destroyed by the First Emperor? For a long time, the first Emperor pirates did not make a big move against the New World, and even if they did, they were controlled within a certain range, but this time, it was obviously different. Seeing the posture of the first Emperor pirates, they planned to fully dominate the New World. Not only did Nami and the others go out, but the first Emperor pirates' supernova also set off. Following that, there were countless first Emperor troops and escorts. This battle was already obvious. As for why the first Emperor pirates dared to attack the forces of the New World at the same time, it was only because the first Emperor pirates had the strength and courage. Just one army of the first Emperor can defeat 100 by 1. In front of this army, the other forces are just a mob, and they are completely incomparable. It can be said that in the New World, there is no force that can resist the first Emperor pirates. Unless the Revolutionary Army and the world government truce, or even take action against the first Emperor pirates, the New World will be the first Emperor pirates. Chapter 411 _ Time is fleeting, and a day later, in the New World Clown continent, the smoke of gunpowder is flying, and there are shouts of killing everywhere. This large island was invaded by the army of the first Emperor pirates at this moment, and all the forces that the King of Clowns had in the past were also invested in it. In the center of the battle, there was a fire of war all around, and the two teams were on guard. This time, Nami, Sun Wukong, Tessero, Kid, and Zeus, with a total of nearly 100,000 First Emperor troops and guards, are bound to take down the most mysterious 5 emperors. Are you the King of Clowns? 3 feet off the ground, Nami hugged her shoulders with her hands, and looked at the man who looked like a clown, especially the big red nose, which was like a light bulb in the dark night. The opposite side, Buggy, wearing a coat, looked at Nami with a serious expression. No, deny. The atmosphere is a little dull. The end, Buggy said, is the first Emperor pirates too arrogant? I asked myself that I didn't provoke the first Emperor pirates. His first Emperor is too proud. Completely different from the past, Buggy at this moment is very hockey, so that all the men around him are full of enthusiasm. Her eyes sank, and Nami's face suddenly turned cold. HMPH, kill. It's too lazy to talk nonsense at all. In Nami's eyes, Buggy is already dead. And just at this moment, a golden light condensed on the horizon, revealing 2 figures. Alas, today's young people are just grumpy. That Tessero was very familiar with suddenly sounded, attracting everyone. Kizaru. Squinted at Kizaru who suddenly appeared. That's right, it was Kizaru who arrived urgently, and beside him, there was an old man with a cigarette stick. The first Emperor pirates are really big this time, they even sent you and Sun Wukong. On Buggy's side, Kizaru glanced at Nami and Sun Wukong and snorted coldly. Boss Nami, the one next to Kizaru, is the left hand of One Piece, King of Pirates, destroying the king. Tessero's eyes jumped a little. He had learned about this gossip in Going City before. Everyone was stunned and looked at the old man next to Kizaru. They didn't expect that this old guy's background was so big. Destroy the king. Sun Wukong's eyes flashed with sparks, and he was about to move. What about the left hand of One Piece, King of Pirates? Since he came to die, then let him do it. Nami is still so defiant, destroying the king. Just a dying old man, just kill him. As for why Kingslayer and Kizaru appeared here, Nami and others were not interested to know, because now, it can be seen at a glance that the other party is related to the King of Clowns, and in that case, it is the enemy. Spark Gabon, this old man is handed over to me. Without saying a word, Tessero charged directly towards Gabon. Following Tessero's attack, the 2 men and horses collided without saying a word. Kizaru, this time you are sure to die. First of all, Nami was eyeing Kizaru. The 2 are also old friends. They have never really decided the outcome, so this time, Nami decided to end Kizaru herself. As for Sun Wukong, he went up against Buggy, while Zeus and Kid fought with the criminals Buggy brought out from Impel Down. Kid, who has become more and more calm, these are placed outside, and the bounties are all criminals in the hundreds of millions. At this moment, there is only the power to parry, especially the attack of Zeus, which is not only destructive but also untouchable. Only at the beginning, Zeus and Kid worked together to suppress hundreds of criminals. The golden light and the thunder light intertwined, rising into the sky, and the sound of the bang was deafening. At the beginning, Nami used the Thor mode, and Kizaru also used the God of Light outfit, so at this moment, the speed of the two of them was difficult for ordinary people to detect, and only the thunder and dull sounds were heard in their ears. A spear collided with a lightsaber, causing ripples. Nami and Kizaru were close at hand, squinting at each other. At the same time, their right foot was bent and their knee was pushed towards each other. There was a huge roar, thunder and golden light condensed, the two separated, and then rushed together again. The sky and the ground, the speed that is difficult to keep up with, sparks and shocks can be seen everywhere. Current explosion. In the blink of an eye, a flash of thunder dashed towards Kizaru in the blink of an eye. In an emergency, Kizaru turned into an element and fled to the side, and in place, the clouds were penetrated, leaving a huge trace. Electric light flickered. Just as Kizaru condensed her body, Nami appeared on the right side of Kizaru with a gloomy smile, grinning, those white teeth, extremely cold. Just waiting for you. The previous railgun was just an appetizer, and the purpose was to make Kizaru elemental. Only in this way, there will be flaws. With one kick, the whole atmosphere was whining, and Kizaru felt a chill on his back, so he could only resist. The overwhelming power made Kizaru's face pale, turned into a beam of light, and suddenly dissipated in place. In hot pursuit, Nami turned into an electric light, beat down the underdog, and would not miss the slightest chance. Yasukani no Magatama. As he flew upside down, a trace of blood spilled from the corner of Kizaru's mouth, and countless flash bombs covered the sky, drowning Nami, who was chasing after him. The thunder is cut off. A layer of electromagnetic ripples surrounded Nami with no dead ends. Those flash bombs that came rushing in were directly bounced back, completely unable to resist Nami's footsteps. An emergency, Nami stretched out her hand and held Kizaru. A strong gravity directly acted on Kizaru, causing Kizaru's body to plummet and lose her balance. PFF'd. The sound of sharp weapons piercing flesh, a spear pierced Kizaru's shoulders, and disappeared into the air. 8-foot mirror. Gaze. Kizaru accumulated a mirror-like light in his hand, which formed a light track, moving quickly left and right, and distanced himself from Nami. You must know that when Kizaru moves with glint fruit, it cannot bend and change direction, only straight lines, which is a minor flaw. After fighting several times, Nami also discovered this problem, so this time, she has the confidence to completely destroy Kizaru. Compared to glint fruit's linear movement, Raytheon's ability does not have this shortcoming, not to mention, Nami has far more power than Kizaru. Panting, his left shoulder was scarlet, Kizaru wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His face was extremely ugly, because he felt that the woman opposite seemed to be different from the previous battle. What's wrong? You just can't hold on anymore. Over her body, Nami squinted and looked at Kizaru with contempt. Gloomy like rain, a lightsaber appeared in Kizaru's hand again, and he told Nami directly with his actions. 2. Chapter 412 Boom, boom, Smoke and dust splashed, the whole ground was cracked, a big mountain collapsed, and countless gravel, like bullets, smashed all around. In the smoke and dust covering the line of sight, two silhouettes appeared like shadows. Ground lifted or collapsed. At this moment, Tessero's body was golden, as if he was wearing a layer of glowing armor, which was very dazzling. On the opposite side, Gabon looked serious, holding a cigarette stick in his hand. His eyes were like electricity, and the breath emanating from his body was still like a sea. However, it is not the same as before. At this moment, Tessero, with the confidence and strength, can face the legend in front of him head-on. Boy going, you are very strong. A slight sigh, Gabon took a puff of cigarette, and some of them had to obey. If it wasn't for the captain's call, maybe he would have disappeared into the mountains. Now it seems that, as an old bone of mine, he still has to give full play to his residual heat. Old man, it's a pity that you are already old. This time, you will die in my hands. Fist, going fingers, crunching squeak. Tessero's face is serious, his eyes are very pressing. Young people, don't be too arrogant, otherwise, you will suffer. A puff of smoke, Gabon stretched out his hand and ticked at Tessero, extremely defiantly. His gaze burst into flames, and the whole ground exploded. Tessero disappeared in place and appeared in front of Gabon. He punched going dazzlingly, covered with weapons, and hit Gabon's head hard. This time, instead of when he was young, Gabon could take Tessero lightly, instead, he is going all out now. A bong in one hand and a fist in the other, Gabon and Tessero slammed together. The wind and sand filled the sky, raising the ground, and cracks continued to meander. Almost at the same time, the two of them retreated, and then they banged against each other again. The air wave blew, Gabon held the bong, it was pitch black, facing Tessero's head, and swept it directly. Wind roared, Tessero's expression was dignified, and he directly bent to avoid it, only to feel a powerful force sweeping over his head, and then the earth turned upside down, the jungle behind Tessero disappeared directly, forming a desert. Tessero clenched his fists, his veins jumped, bent over, his right fist swollen in a circle, and he rose to the ground and slammed into Gabon's chin. Going skyrocket. Eyes, Gabon tightened his body, and with the other hand, he pressed down quickly, trying to resist Tessero's fist. Boom. The huge collision caused Tessero to sink deep into the ground, while Gabon raised his head high. Because of the huge impact, his hand hit his chin, and his whole body even flew up. Going kill cannon. Time seemed to slow down. Tessero stomped on the ground with his feet firmly on the ground, raised his head, looked at Gabon, his hands were together, shining with the ultimate golden color, and then there was an explosion, and he jumped up. The huge threat made Gabon's scalp go numb, and he still underestimated this kid. Could only rush for one block, Gabon held the bong in both hands, and his armed forces were unprecedentedly concentrated, resisting Tessero's fist. However, that force, even bigger than before, turned into a cannonball, and Gabon flew upside down. With the last roar, a barren mountain collapsed, Gabon vomited blood, and fell into the gravel. And Tessero stood up, his chest rose and fell violently, and his whole body was bigger than before, just because he compressed the going giant to the extreme and formed another state. Going divine apparel. It looks like a going armor. Whether it is attack, defense, or speed, it has risen by several levels. Touch of sun shines. Tessero is like a going war god, full of majesty and power. Cough, cough. Standing up, wiping the blood from the corners of his mouth, Gabon looked at Tessero who was approaching and, for some reason, laughed. Frowning, Tessero looked at Gabon with a cold look. When death is imminent, I still have the mood to laugh. No, no, Gabon stretched out a finger and shook it, his face sank all of a sudden. If you only have this strength, then I can only send you on the road. The powerful aura spread, Gabon's whole body shone with black light, and upon closer inspection, it turned out to be armament. The intense light made Tessero's heart sink. Going field. He lifted his right foot and stepped on it lightly. In the blink of an eye, within a radius of 10,000 meters, the entire ground turned into a going. At this moment, Tessero used his awakening. Without warning, the ground was like a hedgehog, with countless going spikes, stabbing Gabon. However, before that, Gabon disappeared long ago. His pupils shrank, Tessero moved sideways, his elbows slammed directly behind his back. Sure enough, with the dull sound, Gabon flashed with surprise in his eyes. At the same time, Tessero's thoughts moved, and it turned into Going's ground, like a swamp, and began to wrap around Gabon's feet. Seizing the opportunity, without hesitation, Tessero kicked out with one kick. However, Gabon was not a vegetarian, so he forcibly tore off the restraint and punched Tessero's foot. Then, with the help of the impact, Gabon opened the distance and used the means to stand in the air. And Tessero, taking 2 steps back, stood firm, looked up at Gabon, his eyes were golden light going splash. Both hands clapped the ground, the whole ground shook, and the going pillars slammed against Gabon. Although Gabon dodged one by one, these pillars did not dissipate, but began to expand like balloons. Not good. Watching the growing pillar, Gabon quickly moved away. Sure enough, the next moment, the roar continued, the entire sky, one after another, countless going powder, like rain, began to slowly cover the entire area. The ground, Tessero stood up and looked at Gabon, who was covered in going powder, and succeeded Isho. He knew that he had succeeded. The explosion of the going pillar looked very powerful, but it was only used to cover up the second attack. Fortunately, Gabon was fooled. In midair, Gabon looked at the going powder on his body, and for some reason, felt a sense of threat. Vivi was shocked, all the going powder fell, and Gabon didn't change. Even though armament had been covering the whole body, the feeling never left. Looking down at Tessero on the ground, Gabon didn't know why, because of the other party, he put away the going field and looked at himself with a gloomy smile. Gabon looked at Tessero's winning smile, and for some reason, the ominous premonition became more and more real. Going down, Gabon made the right decision to beat the kid. However, facing Gabon's fist, Tessero had no intention of taking precautions. Stop. Nick of time, Gabon's fist swayed Tessero's hair, but, just a few centimeters away, Gabon's body stopped. Face changed rapidly, Gabon narrowed his pupils in disbelief, because he lost control of his body. Bang! Slowly clenching his fists, Tessero slammed into Gabon's stomach. On the spot, he vomited blood and splattered. Gabon bent his body, blood vessels crawling all over his neck. Standing calmly on the ground, Tessero retracted his fists, while Gabon held his stomach with both hands, blood spurting from his mouth, and bent over. From the moment it was controlled, Gabon's armament has disappeared, so this punch is completely without any defense. After bearing it down, that power caused a storm to sway behind Gabon. Boy, what have you done? Face full of atrophy, Gabon raised his head, his eyes were bloodshot, and he looked at the boy in front of him in disbelief. Mouth rose, and Tessero looked at Gabon dangerously, but instead of opening his mouth, he raised his fist again. It is impossible to sit still. Gabon wants to fight back, but every time he starts to act, his body is out of control, and he is beaten by Tessero like a sandbag in the end. Boom, boom. Punching to the flesh, every punch can smash gold and crack stones, but in just a moment, Gabon fell to the ground and lost his resistance. The gravel all over the ground, a scarlet color, Gabon gasped, his image was very miserable. Old man, accept it. Crouching down, Tessero is all smiles. What about the legend? Are you still not at your feet? It's because of the gold powder just now. Being beaten for so long, Gabon couldn't understand, he was not the right hand of One Piece King of Pirates. Chapter 413 _ Not stupid. Standing up, Tessero snorted coldly. Although Gabon was covered with armament during the battle, don't forget that Gabon is a human and needs to breathe. More or less, some fine gold powder was directly inhaled into his body. Any life, as long as the gold powder enters the body, Tessero can be controlled by the gold powder. It can be said that everyone seriously underestimates the strength of Tessero. Getting up and sitting on the ground, Gabon knew that he was defeated, and was defeated by this young generation who could easily suppress him. Boom! On the other side of the island, there was a roar, visible to the naked eye, a barren mountain, silently torn apart, turned into fragments, forming a long flowing river. Rising from the sky, Sun Wukong stood in midair, a little embarrassed, and his eyes were full of fear. Not far away, Buggy looked serious, and his right face was a little red and swollen. At this moment, he looked at Monkey King, full of sternness. In the previous battle, no one took advantage of it, and let both sides know that the other side is not easy. It can be said that it is just a temptation, but 26 this temptation is very dangerous. Circling the fluorescent golden hoop in both hands, Sun Wukong disappeared directly into the air, which made Buggy on the ground tense up in an instant. Observation hockey spread. Without the slightest breath, Bej stood on the ground, not flustered, holding a dagger in his hand, ready to fight back. Silently, behind Buggy, a jet-black gold hoop rod, carrying boundless power, blasted towards Buggy's vest. And at this moment, Bej's entire body was split into countless pieces, which directly caused Sun Wukong's attack to smash into the air. The electric light flint, a dagger, stabbed Sun Wukong's arm. If Sun Wukong was not fast, he might have been stabbed at this time, because this short knife dagger was made by sea stone. The body reunited, and Buggy watched the surroundings vigilantly, in case Sun Wukong's next attack. Sun Wukong frowned, because this opponent is more difficult than he imagined, but as long as he finds a way, he is more vulnerable than he imagined. All around, there were abnormal ripples in the space. Sun Wukong stepped out, his whole body glowed, and he swept towards Buggy. Once again, Buggy's body turned into a few pieces, avoided the past, and held a dagger in one hand and a fist in the other, and attacked Sun Wukong at the same time. Swept away thousands of troops. Slammed into the space in front of him. The whole atmosphere was rippling, visible to the naked eye. This time, Buggy was taken aback, because this ability is very similar to Whitebeard. Therefore, the originally split body was split even smaller again and quickly escaped. But at this moment, Sun Wukong grabbed Bej's palm holding the dagger and forcibly controlled it. However, before Sun Wukong could do anything, a strange splitting force surged out directly. With a chill all over his body, Sun Wukong's face was sullen, not only did not let go, but instead used his ability to forcefully hold it. For a time, the shock force continued to collide. Separate. Ripples folded, and Sun Wukong disappeared, appearing in front of Buggy's head, his hands spread up and down, trying to lock Buggy. Torn apart, and Bej's head turned into a powder, forcibly escaped from Sun Wukong's attack range, and reunited not far away. Ha. Breathing heavily, Buggy's face turned pale. Just now, he really felt death. Really tough ability. A hard look in his eyes, Sun Wukong looked at Buggy coldly, his whole body like ripples, constantly flowing. Pat. Away the sea stone dagger, Buggy, for some reason, got up with his bare hands. Almost at the same time, the two phantoms walked close to the ground and collided directly. With a bang, Buggy turned into countless particles, like marbles, wrapped in armament, like bullets, all round, lashing towards Sun Wukong. Ripples continued to ripple, like water waves, and most of Buggy's attacks passed through Sun Wukong's body. At first, Sun Wukong's face was calm, but it didn't take long for his face to turn pale. A trace of meiotic power began to act on Sun Wukong's body. Even though his clone was immune to a lot of power, the splitting power invaded all the time. Not far away, Buggy's head was suspended in midair, and other body parts were all turned into particles, surrounding Sun Wukong. Looking at the situation in front of him, Sun Wukong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and suddenly sneered. Because it is no longer interested in playing with the other party, during this time, it has just perfected this ability, and today I will try the knife with this red nose. Ground burst, and Sun Wukong charged directly towards Buggy. Once again, a sonic boom was generated, and countless particles wrapped the weapon and shot at Sun Wukong. But this time, Sun Wukong did not resist. Instead, he deliberately rushed towards the place where the attacks were concentrated. Great Holy Spirit. Like a black hole, Sun Wukong's entire body transforms again, like a bridge, allowing Buggy to attack. How? Maybe. Turning pale, Buggy looked terrified and stopped all attacks. "What have you done to me?" Reuniting his body, Buggy's one hand and one foot, or half of his body, simply disappeared. This is also the reason why Buggy gave up the attack directly and looked terrified, just because half of his body could not feel it. "You'll know when you die." With a cold face, Sun Wukong beat the water dog and rushed to Buggy again. For others, Buggy's ability is impeccable, because most objects, as well as energy, Buggy can split, and even if Buggy wants, the island under his feet can split and shatter. Buggy's ability to split, but the other party can resist, which makes Buggy fall into an unimaginable crisis for a while. The entire island began to shatter in a ring shape, and radiated around. On a collapsed barren mountain, Sun Wukong's face was pale, and his physical strength was obviously too much. As for the gravel not far away, Buggy's scattered body condensed again, but this time, only half of it condensed. Now Buggy, facing Sun Wukong, has no backhand power at all. Because, as time passed, Buggy was sweating profusely, as if he was terminally ill, and his face was bloodless, just because his lost body had completely disappeared, and that kind of death crisis became more and more real. It was like a dark and icy abyss that enveloped his soul. Chapter 414 At the same time, the sky was shrouded in dark clouds, and the purple-red thunderbolts were airtight, bombarding wildly, and the ground was mourning. "Ha ha, let you see how good this uncle is." Arrogant to the extreme, Zeus turned into a black cloud of 10,000 meters, constantly placing thunder, like a fighter jet, bombing the people in the Buggy pirates in a carpet-like manner. There is no backhand power at all, because the thunder that Zeus descends is not only destructive, but also poisonous. Even if he wasn't hacked to death, he was poisoned in the end. How did Nima beat him? Crack! The ground exploded, the gravel flew into the sky, and the entire pothole was poisonous and corroded rapidly, and not far away, Kid was fighting and was almost hacked. "Zeus, you almost hit Lao Tzu." With his hands attracting countless iron weapons, Kid blasted dozens of people with one punch, facing the sky, swearing. I know. With a pouting, Zeus disagreed, bombarded wildly all the way. On the ground, everyone fled, and his face was full of horror. Because this cloud hiding is too powerful. The situation was directly downhill. Facing the power of the first Emperor pirates, even with the support of King Destroyer and Kizaru, Buggy could not resist. First Emperor, you only need to send a few subordinates. The lowest level is also Admiral. In the face of this force, apart from the current revolutionary army and the world government, who can resist? The 5 emperors and Shichibukai, who were once famous, are no longer qualified to promote the process of history. I believe that after this war, the world will be noisy again, because of the 5 emperors. There is only one left in the end, and this 5 emperors will be the well-deserved king, even One Piece king of pirates. He is the first emperor. Some people will say, isn't there another 5 emperors? Monkey D. Luffy, maybe he can defeat the first emperor. But in the eyes of the real powerhouses, the so-called 5 emperors, Monkey D. Luffy, are nothing more than grandstanding, because the two sides are not on the same level at all. Just like this time, the first emperor just sent a few subordinates to solve. Because the 5 sovereigns were no longer worthy of the first emperor. The difference could not be clearer. At this moment, the top battle between the two sides is also divided into winners and losers. For example, Tessero uses his abilities at this moment to soften going, form a rope, and entangle the King of Destruction. As for Sun Wukong, it didn't take long for Buggy's body to be trapped with a body protection spell, so that it couldn't be smashed and synthesized, and his body control was completely lost. Now, only Nami and Kizaru are left. Thunder light and golden light are intertwined, and the entire dark sky is roaring constantly, and the dazzling light is even more fleeting. Boom, boom. A golden light suddenly fell, one after another. Several barren mountains were penetrated, and then collapsed, causing the entire island to be split into 2 halves. Smoke dissipated, Kizaru's face was covered in blood, and his breath was extremely chaotic. From the looks of it, his injuries were not light. The electric light condensed, blood dripped from Nami's mouth, and her blue eyes were full of fierceness. Forced to stand up, Kizaru clutched his chest, his eyes twinkling. Whoosh, whoosh, diaresis. The entire sky was surging with wind and clouds, and the thunder snakes shuttled through the black clouds, extremely shining. Boss Nami, solve it early, it's time to go back. On a lonely mountain, Tessero, Kid, and Sun Wukong stood together, with the king and Buggy lying down at their feet, looking in the direction of Nami. As for Zeus, a little lost in his own power, he is now leading the first emperor's army, jubilantly chasing the pirates who escaped. Head, Vivi's pupils changed. Kizaru looked at Kingslayer and Buggy who had become captives, shook his teeth, and made a decision. Golden light was dazzling and dazzling. Kizaru ignored the collapse of his body, and countless light bombs all over his body, like a meteor shower, began to sweep the entire island without dead ends. Nami, go to hell. Kizaru's desperate look made Nami alert. After all, the opponent's strength is not weak. With a cold snort, a layer of electromagnetic dome appeared on the periphery of Nami's body, and all the light bullets that emerged were all bounced off. Immediately afterwards, Nami observation haki swept away, only to find that in that golden light, Kizaru disappeared. And on the horizon, a golden light is fleeting. Nami knew that she was being tricked, and Kizaru didn't fight him, but took the opportunity to escape. A trace of anger appeared on Nami's face. On the spot, without even thinking about it, she turned into a thunderbolt and chased after him. If Kizaru escaped this time, then he and she would just jump into the sea and die. But not long after Nami took off, she found that the light beam that had disappeared before was hitting the island again like a meteor. Condensing her body, Nami stopped, and the next moment, Sun Wukong stepped out of the space. No need to explain. I have been guarding him for a long time, and it is not once or twice to escape. Standing beside Nami, Sun Wukong looked coldly at the dusty island under his feet and said something. If Caesar hadn't wanted glint glint fruit, I'd have killed it. The eyes were full of killing intent. In the previous battle, Nami had been suppressing, trying to capture Kizaru alive, otherwise, Kizaru would have died long ago. Let's do it together. Without waiting for Nami to answer, Sun Wukong disappeared directly. This time, Nami did not refuse, turned into a thunder, and fell down. For a time, under the siege of Nami and Sun Wukong, Kizaru, who had been seriously injured, was like a battle between beasts, and even the power to parry seemed difficult. Because of his unparalleled speed, he has lost his advantage, and whether it is Nami or Sun Wukong, he can keep up. It can be said that there are very few people in the ocean that can withstand the siege of Nami and Sun Wukong at the same time. Kizaru next to Kingslayer and Buggy like a dead dog. Three of them seem to have a better image of the king of extermination. As for Buggy, all parts of the body are trapped by the protective spell, just like being wrapped into a zongzi. Only Kizaru looked very miserable. Not only had his nose bruised and his face swollen, but even his breathing was indistinct, and his whole body was tightly entangled by lightning chains. Wano Kuni, an unknown but extremely powerful country in the New World, its military strength is enough to rank in the top 10 of the New World. Just because this country is basically all swordsmen, it can be said that it is a country where swordsmen practice. However, not long ago, the first Emperor Pirates, the top overlord of the New World, suddenly attacked them. Led by the female ghost sword Perona of the first Emperor Pirates, Wano Kuni began to be destroyed. According to reports after the event, Wano Kuni was overwhelmed and almost wiped out the country. At the critical moment, suspected to be the legend of the past, the right hand of One Piece, King of Pirates, the appearance of the Pluto Serb Israeli, and the shot of the original Shichibukai, Hawkeye Dracula Mahawk made the first Emperor Pirates retreat in the end. However, the intervention of Pluto and Hawkeye once aroused the anger of the first Emperor Pirates, and successively dispatched Jinbei, the third generation of the First Emperor pirates, the former Marine Admiral Kuzan, and 50,000 First Emperor troops. The angry support of the First Emperor pirates brought the entire Wano Kuni into a state of ruin again. In the end, General Wano Kuni, Hades Rayleigh, and Hawkeye Mahawk, with only a small number of Wano Kuni members, escaped from the New World and disappeared without a trace. After 3 days, Wano Kuni became the territory of the First Emperor pirates. According to statistics, Wano Kuni people hated the First Emperor pirates and refused to accept the rule of the First Emperor pirates, so they launched a series of coups. However, this move angered the First Emperor pirates again. For some unknown reason, the female ghost sword Perona of the First Emperor pirates was furious on the spot, and despite the dissuasion of his companions, actually split the large island of Wano Kuni alive. The millions of Wano Kuni people who lived on it, as the island sank, slept in the deep sea forever. This regard, Wano Kuni disappeared into the New World, and its ethnic groups were also very different, almost exterminating. The dehumanization and ruthlessness of the First Emperor pirates have once again spread all over the world. Up to the Emperor Shi Huang of the First Emperor pirates, down to the supernova of the First Emperor pirates, they are all likened to demons, without humanity, butchers. For a while, the rumors and all the negative effects were all about the First Emperor pirates. If the whole world was not at war, perhaps the actions of the First Emperor pirates would have caused public outrage. Later, news came out in the New World that one of the strongest races in the world, the Giants, also ushered in the invasion of the First Emperor pirates. However, the Giants did not resist this time, but instead announced that they had joined the First Emperor pirates and would become a new race of the First Emperor pirates. As soon as this news came out, it caused an uproar. You must know that the Giants are inherently stronger than other races, and they are one of the few strongest races in the sea. But this time, the Giant clan, who has always been praised as heroic and adept at fighting and with infinite strength, surrendered before they could fight with the First Emperor pirates. The decision of the Giants made many people ignorant. Until a month later, when the New World combined with the results of the First Emperor pirates expedition, it all proved that the Giants' decision was correct. Even, many people admire the Giants, and for the first time have doubts about the simple and honest characters of the Giants. Because this time the Giants' decision was very decisive and smart. During this month, tens of thousands of large and small kingdoms in the New World, and many kingdoms that could not see reality, all resisted the solicitation of the First Emperor pirates. For this reason, the fate of these kingdoms is either the destruction of the island or the extinction of the ethnic group. And some kingdoms made a wise decision and directly surrendered to the First Emperor pirates. Afterwards, they received the attention of Maine, the top leader of the First Emperor pirates, and gave them a lot of convenience. Compared with the miserable situation of those kingdoms that resisted, the kingdoms that surrendered have gained countless benefits afterwards. And this time, someone has roughly calculated that the number of people who died in the New World directly and indirectly because of the First Emperor pirates was all counted in hundreds of millions. Just looking at these numbers made people feel cold. However, this kind of slaughter is far from over, because the New World is too big, and the kingdoms, ethnic groups, and forces that survive are difficult to estimate. However, now no one can resist the cutting edge of the First Emperor pirates. Because the New World is doomed, the First Emperor pirates will have the final say. Chapter 415 What happened in the New World did not affect the Revolutionary Army and the world government's war on the Great Root and the Four Seas. However, I don't know when, a shocking news disturbed the whole world. That is, One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger is still alive, and the leader of the Revolutionary Army is actually Roger's subordinate, that is to say, the Revolutionary Army was established by One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger. This news was thought to be a rumor at first, but when it was really confirmed, the whole world went crazy, even the fluctuations generated by the New World First Emperor pirates could not be covered. Because this news is so explosive and fantastic, it completely shattered everyone's imagination. Then, the whole world became more chaotic, especially the pirates. Most of them flocked to the Great Root, just because, One Piece King of Pirates Gol D. Roger, in the images of the whole world, personally summoned the pirates. For a time, the strength of the Revolutionary Army soared, and in the collision with the world government, it completely occupied a dominant position. And the world government is not a vegetarian. The commander of the whole army, Kong, summoned several departments such as the army, the marine, CP and other departments that have lost their strength, and twisted them into a rope. Not only did they resist the counterattack of the Revolutionary Army and the pirates, but they also gave hit hard. However, few people know that Roger has another identity, that is, the world's first scientist Vegapunk. Kinetic Rock, a destruction the uncontrollable energy appeared in the Revolutionary Army for the first time. With this big killer, the world government fell into a quagmire again and was losing ground. However, how can the world government that has ruled the world for 800 years only have this power? Until the three Gorosei, 5 elders of the Holy Land Mariajoy, the only remaining 2 Tenryubito family rulers, and the power in the family appeared, the Revolutionary Army's original momentum was completely resisted and fell into a dangerous place. The war fell into a swamp again, and no one took advantage of it. Only at this moment did the whole world wake up, the world pattern will be reformed, and the new world master will also make decisions in this chaotic era. One Piece King of Pirates Gol D. Roger, the news that he is not dead, and the personal appearance to summon the pirates, like a drop of oil, fell into the fire, burning the whole world crazy and uncontrollable. Subsequently, various suspicions and various reports began to appear. One Piece King of Pirates Gol D. Roger still alive? Isn't he dead? How could he still be alive? It turned out to be the true ruler of the Revolutionary Army, One Piece King of Pirates Gol D. Roger. What is CGAC hiding? What conspiracy? Is his wealth still on the final island? The final island, what is it? Will One Piece King of Pirates Roger reconvene its former crew? Can the world government resist the war between the pirates and the Revolutionary Army? The emergence of One Piece King of Pirates is likened to the second generation of One Piece King of Pirates. Where should the first emperor of the first emperor pirates go? Supernova, the original Shichibukai, Wawong, and Marine have been eliminated by the times and have lost their right to speak. The rulers of the new era are dominated by the first emperor pirates, the Revolutionary Army pirates, and the world government. Which of these 3 hegemons will be the real next era? The first emperor pirates are cleaning up the new world. The Revolutionary Army and the world government occupy the Great Route. The 3 parties will decide the decision-makers of the world in the new era. A piece of news, speculation, and affirmation has swept the world, and every day, new news comes out, causing an uproar. The first emperor pirates, the discussion hall, everyone is here at this moment, and everyone is looking at the information in their hands. Hey, no way, how could Gol D. Roger be alive? Kuzan stared, read it over and over again, and determined the information displayed on the document, feeling a mess in his mind. This news is true. Above, Main rubbed her forehead, and was also shocked by the news that appeared during this time. After all, One Piece King of Pirates was executed in the eyes of the whole world back then, but now, One Piece King of Pirates not only did not die, but instead became the supreme ruler of the Revolutionary Army. Now, the pirates are called again, and for a time, the world government that has ruled the world for 800 years has been suppressed. This news, for us, is not good news. Main frowned, put down the information in her hand, a pair of phoenix eyes, full of fierceness. Since the death of the 5 emperors, the captain is already a well-deserved One Piece King of Pirates, and he is about to go to the final island, and the route has been determined. Roger's resurrection has completely defeated the captain's reputation, even if he reaches the final island now, nor can it compare to Roger. Quote, according to the information, most of the pirates from all over the world have flooded into the Great Route and obeyed Roger's orders. In the past, there were fewer and fewer voices calling for the captain to be One Piece King of Pirates. After finishing speaking, Main's pretty face was directly gloomy, because Roger's Roger's resurrection made all their efforts in the past go to waste. Originally, Maine's plan was to make Qin a one-piece king of pirates, and then rule the pirates in the sea, plus the First Emperor's army of the First Emperor pirates. At that time, no one in this world will be the opponent of the First Emperor pirates. However, the fat in the mouth was directly snatched by Roger. Compared to Roger, the one-piece king of pirates, even if Qin killed Shichibukai and the 5 emperors, he would not be able to compare with Roger in terms of prestige. Because Roger opened the era of pirates, and was the first one-piece king of pirates. In any world, the fame of the first person who created an era or established a kingdom is unmatched by future generations. Even if Qin immediately arrives at the final island and sails around the world, he will not be recognized by the entire pirate circle, just because the first one-piece king of pirates is still alive, and this is enough. Therefore, when Roger announced his identity, he indirectly caught the First Emperor pirates by surprise. Humph! One-piece king of pirates. I don't know how long he has been dead, and now he came out and jumped. My mother chopped him to death with a sword. At Perona, where Wano-kuni hit a wall, the anger was clearly not over. Now Roger is calling on pirates all over the world to jointly resist the world government. From the current point of view, although it has played a role, it is not as objective as imagined. Vesh put down the information, and for some reason, he always felt that there was a follow-up. Blue. At this moment, a video phone bug on the main chopping board suddenly rang. The investigation came to the news, and a figure said, "Boss Main, there is major news. Not long ago, the big news in the underground world, Morgans, released a live video broadcast around the world, and notified the world that One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger will be in front of the whole world in 3 days. The side of the world, announcing the blank 100 years of history, and the true identity of Tenryubito. Quote. Chapter 416 _ What? In the entire hall, everyone stretched their necks. Want to publish a blank 100-year history? Tenryubito's real identity. Just hearing these two news made me want to know. Once One Piece King of Pirates is resurrected, will something happen? And it's still a major event that shocked the world. I'm going to inform the captain. With a solemn expression, things have exceeded Maine's expectations. Roger's actions have no omen at all. I believe that the whole world has gone crazy at this moment. That's right, when the news came out, various newspapers and printed newspapers spread all over the world. Then, crazy, the whole world is crazy again. The resurrection of One Piece King of Pirates. Blank 100 years of history. Tenryubito has other identities. The news, without warning, caught people all over the world by surprise. Intuition tells everyone that in 3 days, the world will be turned upside down. At the same time, the Holy Land Mariajoy, the deepest, 5 old men, kneeled on the ground, sweating profusely, with panic on their faces, anxiously looking at the empty void throne above. Damn D for wanting to reveal 100 years of history and who we are. A Gorosei, 5 elders, gnashing his teeth, his heart is full of anger and panic. He can't imagine how much shock and generational hatred will be caused if the true identities of himself and others are spread out. Wait for Imam-sama. Not far away, the only remaining ruler of the Tenryubito family, a figure, made a phantom sound. The 5 people didn't kneel for a long time, and suddenly one person appeared on the originally empty throne. Meet Lord I.M. The 5 people, the world rulers on the bright side, all bent down and kowtowed. What's the matter? Still can't see the face clearly, still so aloof, still daunting. Sir I.M., now D has appeared. During this period, he has 2 identities, one is One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger, and the other is Vegapunk, the world's first scientist. Have our identities. Uneasy, according to the agreement in advance, a Gorosei, 5 elders, who kept swallowing and hesitating. After he finished speaking, the whole hall could hear needles falling. I am on the void throne just tapped Erlang's leg. rested on the throne with one hand, propped his chin, and looked blankly at the 5 people kneeling below. Puff, puff. For more than 10 minutes, I.M. didn't speak, and the face shrouded in mist didn't know what the expression was, causing the 5 people kneeling below, even the sound of their own heartbeats, felt so deafening. Beads of sweat kept dripping from his face, making the floor in front of him wet. One Piece King of Pirates. Vegapunk. So obvious that you didn't even find it. Well, that's good. I couldn't hear the emotions, but Yimu's words made the 5 people feel cold all over their bodies and showed fear on their faces. Not daring to speak, the 5 just kept kowtowing and praying with their actions. It seems that D can't bear it anymore. Since he wants to announce the history, let him announce it. Afterwards, it's easy to erase this 100 years of history. Alarmed the Gorosei 5 elders was not a big deal for I.M. The big deal, erasing this 100 years and everything, just like 800 years ago, can still be resolved. But Lord Yimu, D wants us to die without a place to be buried, and even announce our identities. Didn't you hear what I said? Let him announce the announcement. When the time comes, the 100 years of history will be erased, and you will still be able to live forever. Im's voice raised Vivi, and the 5 shuddered in fright. Now, prepare all the forces to annihilate the Revolutionary Army. D, I will do it myself. Lord Yimu, the war between us and the Revolutionary Army may be a loser for both parties. In the New World, the First Emperor pirates are watching. Do you want to drag them into the water? Whoever dares to move the First Emperor pirates will die. Amam, who was originally calm, suddenly stood up, and a huge pressure instantly radiated to the entire hall. The 5 didn't speak, but they had endless worries in their hearts, because now the First Emperor pirates are already a behemoth, and if they stay, it is destined to be a trouble later. But why does Lord Yimu never start with the First Emperor pirates? However, all this, perhaps only Yim himself knows. Because he didn't take the world government or the world in his eyes at all, he just wanted to go to the world of gods. 3 days, in the past, were very fast, but now, these 3 days are like years for the whole world. During these 3 days, the world government counterattacked frantically, causing heavy losses to the Revolutionary Army and the pirates. Because the world government was completely dead, it was purely suicidal attack. It can be said that in the past 3 days, there have been countless casualties on both sides, and the people who have been affected are even more difficult to estimate. In the end, Long and others successfully survived these 3 days. On the 3rd day, when the sun shines, the whole world is watching, and a big earthquake that changes the world has come. All forces, using all means, are all waiting. The First Emperor pirates, in the discussion hall, Main had already arranged everything, and a video phone bug larger than the other phone bugs was placed on the main hall. And Chin Luo also left, even though he already knew all this. Chin Luo knows all about the 100-year blank history, or the identity of Tenryubito, or even the identities of Roger and I.M. Of course, all this is a gift from the king. At the same time, in the territory of the First Emperor pirates, countless video phone bugs were also placed in various squares. It didn't take long for the live broadcast to begin when the whole world was itching for it. The first thing that appeared on the screen was a tall figure. It could be seen that this figure stood on the edge of a cliff and looked out at the sea. Turning around, that familiar face is still remembered even after decades. All of a sudden, the whole world is buzzing, because this person is One Piece, King of Pirates, Gul D. Roger, the first One Piece King of Pirates. Then, the screen Vivi turned around, and the leaders of the original Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Long, Pluto Rayleigh. As a result, the whole world rioted again, especially the races that had friendship with Roger, all blushed and watched the live broadcast without blinking. Among them, there was a lot of fluctuations in the fur tribe living on Zou Island of the First Emperor pirates. In order to save the races of the world, I will now tell the history of the blank 100 years and expose the sins of the present world government and Tenryubito. Got up, Roger told the story without a single word of nonsense. 900 years ago, the four seas, the Great Root, and the New World were connected by a continent, and in this continent, there was a country. This country loves peace, and everyone is free and equal. The harmony and well-being of this country has attracted many other countries, so countless races and countries have joined, and they have formed a new country, One Piece. The new country, known as a whole, is based on the idea that all are equal, regardless of race, level, or status. Originally, all this should be passed down forever, but when a transmigrator appeared, everything changed. This world is not the only one. There are many worlds outside our world, and the traversers are other worlds. They came to our world for special reasons. This traverser used deception to gain the trust of One Piece's royal family and the D family, and thus became the top of One Piece, stealing the power of the D family's guardian, the Devil Fruit. This traveler is an extremely cruel, vicious, and inhumane demon. After he obtained the Devil Fruit, he launched a conspiracy and began to decompose the country of One Piece. Subsequently, One Piece began to fall into differences because of this demon, and frictions also occurred among various races, which led to the split of One Piece. The world, which had been peaceful, began to fall into war. The true identity of this traveler is the king of the Moon people. They used technology to invade One Piece from the moon. The D family rose up to resist, but in the end, they were defeated. With the defeat of the D family, other kingdoms were unable to resist the aggression of the Moon people, so they were ruled by the Moon people. In the next 100 years, the Moon people wantonly killed the humans who knew the truth. In order to erase this history, the Moon people did everything they could. Also because of that huge invasion, the whole world collapsed and turned into countless islands. That's right, the Moon Man is now Tenryubito, the noble of the world. 2. Chapter 417 In order to rule the world, they used slavery, destroyed all peace, and caused the world to fall into an unfair system. Moon people, these invaders, ruled us as captive slaves for 800 years. They invaded our homeland, killed our ancestors, enslaved our fellow men. This world is ours, not their moon human. Now, as the prince of the D family, I call on everyone to rebel against the world government and send these damn invaders to hell. We are not slaves, we are the real masters of this world. We want peace and equality, and take back our identity, our blood, and our homeland. I am, you insidious betrayer, now I am declaring war on you. I will definitely take back our homeland, and this 800 years of slavery will definitely make you moon people pay the price. Rogering angrily, Roger's last cry made the whole world go silent. Although it is only a few words, there are even doubts in many places, such as news about the 3 ancient weapons, Devil Fruit, and so on. Roger didn't say anything, just gave a general idea, and didn't mention many details. Carry. Later, Roger took out the evidence, and it turned out to be some videos. It can be seen from the videos that the era of life inside is indeed different from the present. And many historical texts have also been translated, with pictures and explanations, and it is true at a glance. These evidences are like dynamite, and the whole world is shaken. Now, people all over the world have been subverted. 3 views, ideas, everything, all collapsed. Tenryubito is the invader. You are the ruler of this world. The invaders, who have enslaved this world for 800 years, are the pigs and dogs being ruled. We are the masters of this world, those Tenryubito, the invaders. I was stunned, the whole world was stunned, and then, shockingly, everyone was boiling. Damn Tenryubito, I live under the rule of invaders. We are the legitimacy of this world, the world government. I want to join the revolutionary army, and I want to avenge my ancestors. I will join too. I want to take back my home. In 800 years, the oppression of the world government and the enslavement of Tenryubito have long caused people all over the world to rebel. 800 years of unequal relationship, 800 years of slavery, 800 years of stealing, even if what Roger says is false now, will not quell the anger of the world today. The original Orthodox people have been changed by the invaders. Like slaves, they have ruled for 800 years. If they are any other people, they will rise up and resist. The world is even more chaotic. It can be seen that where countless world governments rule, there is either rebellion or riots. Now, whether they believe it or not, they will step on their feet and face the anger of the world government, and the result can be imagined. However, the world government has existed for 800 years, how could it not have some trump cards and die-hard loyalists? The first Emperor Pirates, the discussion hall, was silent at the moment. Sitting on the throne, Qin Luo showed no expression. Not to mention that he already knew in advance that he, an outsider, only looked at the problem from the perspective of a bystander, far from the anger and subversion that others should have. What's more, what Roger said about history is simply wrong, even a rake. There may be some things that are not wrong, such as enslaving the world for 800 years, but the fundamental problem is by no means what Roger said. At this moment, Qin Luo is like watching a clown, looking coldly at Roger who is talking endlessly in the picture. Qin Luo can ignore all this, but it doesn't mean that others can ignore it. I wipe Nima, is this true or false? Caesar's lips trembled, and he stared, unable to believe it. Sit down, what's the fuss, true or false, what does it have to do with us? With Erlang's legs crossed, Sun Wukong was extremely disdainful of Caesar's anger and seemed very calm. Not only Sun Wukong, but Nami and most people are very calm, because even if what Roger said is true, it doesn't matter to them. Just because now they are members of the first Emperor Pirates, and the most important thing is that they are not stunned or stupid. Although the world seems to be in riots now, and there are many people who respond to Roger, if you look closely, you will find that these people are basically ordinary people, slaves, and those who belong to the bottom, such as those rich and powerful. Dismissive. Perhaps in the feudal society, these ordinary people are heaven, and as long as they are twisted into a rope, they can overthrow everything. But don't forget, this is the world of pirates where strength is supreme, and no amount of ordinary people can form an absolute subversive trend. Just to give an example, if Nami goes down with 1,000 thunders, these people are going to die, and it is estimated that they will not even have a bubble. To put it bluntly, it is necessary to have strength. However, with the passage of time, when these histories are evaporated, I believe that there will be many powerful people who will respond to Roger's call, just because the deception of the times is unacceptable. That's right. Caesar came back to his senses, slightly stunned. This matter has no impact on us, but it is not a good thing for the first Emperor Pirates. With a cold face, Maine gritted her teeth, already expecting the consequences that would spread to the whole world. Your Majesty, there is a riot outside. As expected by Maine, outside the door, an army of the first emperor broke in with an ugly look, sweating profusely. Overthrow the world government. Revenge. Vengeance. Revenge. We are the masters of this world. Damn Tenryubito. History should not be buried, we are the orthodox. The voices were full of people, and the entire Shiwang city seemed to be affected by these voices, shaking slightly. In the main hall, everyone's faces were ashen. Seeing this posture, the first Emperor Pirates were going to be in a chaotic rhythm. Looking up, you can find that the first Emperor Pirates, which had calmed down due to the purge, rioted again. Those who have ideas or join in the fun all leave everything behind and parade in the streets. Please send troops to help the One Piece King of Pirates overthrow the world government. Please the Emperor send troops. Crazy, the streets and alleys are full of people. If this result is followed, it will not take a few days for the first Emperor Pirates to be paralyzed. Among them, the conspirators lurking in the first Emperor Pirates found an opportunity and directly rendered it. The situation became more and more vast, and even remote areas began to become chaotic. Trouble. Maine's face was as gloomy as rain. If she didn't clean it up, she might have lost all her efforts over the years, and the first Emperor Pirates that had been established with great difficulty would collapse like a crooked high-rise building. Now, this is not only the case with the first Emperor Pirates, but also other countries in the world. In short, the world is a mess. Chapter 418 _ Go out and see. Shenhan exited. Although Qin Luo's face was calm, the slowly burning flame in his eyes told everyone that Qin Luo was in a very bad mood now. Everyone, return to the team. All the troops of the First Emperor Pirates, including the police, must be stable. Main looked at Nami, Fujitora, and gave orders to everyone. Got it. Everyone also knew that the situation was urgent, and they disappeared in the hall one after another. Obviously, they went to their direct troops. As long as the army of the First Emperor Pirates is not in chaos, everything can be suppressed. In the sky above the Grand Plaza of Four Seasons Island, Qin Luo appeared. Looking at the crowd of petitioners below, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Captain, don't be impulsive. Main, who followed closely, could clearly feel the captain's emotions. Although she didn't know why, Main still spoke. For a long time, the identity that Main has created for Qin Luo in the First Emperor Pirates is a king who loves his people and a reasonable king. As long as the First Emperor Pirates love their king, then outside, no matter how cruel Qin Luo is, without any impact. In fact, Qin Luo did not want to kill these people, but to those instigators, because among these people, there must be some people with bad intentions inciting. The Emperor is here, it's the Emperor. The appearance of Qin Luo and Main made the people petitioning below suddenly become noisy. Please send the Emperor's army to destroy those invaders. Please the Emperor to take action. Please the Emperor to take back our homeland. Noisy, the sound resounded under the entire sky like thunder. Shut up. Finally, Qin Luo broke out, and his violent and supreme will rolled up the wind and clouds. With the big square as the center, it radiated to the entire Shiwang Island, and even the periphery began to spread. The entire sky was covered by black clouds, and the thunder struck down one after another, causing the sky to flicker and darken, and the entire First Emperor Pirates was stunned at once. To what extent Qin Luo's conqueror has reached. Fortunately, Qin Luo only used shock and deterrence, not lethality, otherwise, the people in the entire square would be dissipated by Qin Luo's conqueror and die. The king's will, like the sky, rested on everyone's shoulders, and after a glance, it was pitch black, and everyone knelt on the ground. The loud noise disappeared. At the center of all things, there is only that man, the king of all life. Captain, this is a phone bug that broadcasts the entire First Emperor Pirates one after another. Teeth trembled. Although Qin Luo's conqueror didn't radiate on Main's body, the will that made the clouds roll over made Main feel inexplicably palpitated. As for the broadcast of the First Emperor Pirates, it is still a live broadcast developed by Caesar combined with the video phone bug. Usually, when Main wants to announce something, it is through this broadcast that the entire First Emperor Pirates are informed. It can be said that every First Emperor Pirates square will have a screen like this, which usually broadcasts some programs, and sometimes announces the development or news of the First Emperor Pirates. Moreover, this kind of screen has covered more than half of the New World. Any area under the rule of the First Emperor Pirates, as long as there are towns, will be clicked on one or two. Even Fishman Island is the same. It can be seen that many Fishman and human beings are now gathered in the main square, looking at the pictures inside. For a time, Qin Luo's figure appeared in everyone's eyes. Looking at the silent large square, Qin Luo's eyes were sharp, as if he could see the scene thousands of miles away through the phone bug. I just want to ask you all one question. Looking in all directions, Qin Luo looked at the pitch-dark people and said domineeringly, are you going to destroy the current life with your own hands? Vv's voice increased, extremely cold. Qin Luo did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. Everyone, please think clearly for me. Do you want to give up the current happy life? I don't care about history, I only care about this country. All the people of the First Emperor Pirates. As the Emperor, I will give everything to you: equality, happiness, and worry-free life. But if it wasn't for the people of the First Emperor Pirates, or the provocateurs who gave up the status of the First Emperor Pirates, I would never be soft-hearted. Quote. I don't care if you are a member of the Revolutionary Army or the world government. If you dare to incite my people, I will make you die miserably. I am the first emperor, and I will do what I say. Senrin's murderous intent, like a secluded hell, made everyone tremble and panic. I am not a benevolent king. Anyone who attempts to disrupt the order of the first emperor pirates will have to die. People of the first emperor pirates, you better think clearly, otherwise, don't blame me for being cruel. The entire first emperor pirates, as well as the territories under their rule, all held their breaths, silent and terrifying. Maine, from now on, all instigators, once verified, will be executed by the entire clan. All rebels, the entire clan will be executed. Cruel orders, even across the screen and at a distance of 10 million meters, are chilling and frightening. Yes, Your Majesty. Maine stood in midair, bent down, did not address the captain, but called Qin Luo the emperor just like the rest of the first emperor pirates. As for Qin Luo, after saying this, he just disappeared. From now on, the security of the first emperor pirates will be taken over by the first emperor's army, escorts, and police. All islands under the rule of the first emperor pirates, the perpetrators, and the ministers in their territories have not calmed down within 3 days. The first emperor see the thieves will carry out the island destruction. The cold face is even worse. Maine's order is more cruel than Qin Luo. Within 3 days, if the island is still in chaos, then whether it is the minister who manages the island or the life that lives on it, will be destroyed. This is simply high-handed policy. Of course, if there is a red face, there is a white face, while singing the white face and singing the red face. People of the first emperor pirates, think about it carefully, don't be taken advantage of by people who have a heart. Think about your family, think about your current life, history can't go back, and now you are part of the first emperor pirates. The people should live a good life. All disasters are solved by the emperor and the army of the first emperor pirates. It's all gone. The sensation subsided, and as time passed, those who had had a fever in their heads began to wake up. Mom, are we leaving the imperial pirates? Streets and alleys, children keep asking. Now our lives are so happy, why destroy it? I heard that on the Great Route, people are dying all the time, and they have been captured as slaves. Asshole, history is my business, I'm just an ordinary person, I just want to live in peace. That is, what kind of family, what world government, Lao Tzu is a subject of the first emperor pirates, did they control it? More and more sober people began to wake up. They couldn't let go of Enli's life. Could it be that for the so-called blood, they left the imperial pirates and went to die? To be a slave. Chapter 419 _ What's the matter? I used to be a slave, and now whoever dares to destroy the first emperor pirates, I will kill him. And me, I used to be a slave, and I was treated as a pig and a dog. Now I am a subject of the first emperor pirates, a man, not a pig and a dog. Whoever dares to make trouble in the first emperor pirates, I will stab me with a knife. Kill him. There was a big man, fierce and wicked, holding a pig-killing knife and looking at everyone on the street with red eyes. More and more people who used to be slaves or were oppressed are all resentful. Because in the first emperor pirates, they found the respect and equality that people should have, and destroyed the first emperor pirates, didn't they just let them go back to being slaves? Is this worth it? Everyone, listen to me, the emperor created the first emperor pirates for us. In our current life, everyone is respected, and there is no oppression or injustice. In the outside world, people are dying every minute, or being attacked. Captured slaves, not even pigs and dogs. Are you willing to go out to die, or are you willing to go out and be slaves? I put the words here today, whoever dares to pick on things, I will never let him go. That's right, the first emperor pirates belong to all of us. Whoever dares to destroy our current life will drag his whole family along even if I die. Going to the special history, going to the special moon man, Lao Tzu is just a small person. If he wants to live in peace, whoever dares to destroy Lao Tzu's happy life, Lao Tzu will kill his whole family. I saw this man, who instigated us today, saying that he wants to overthrow history, kill some lunatics, and join the One Piece King of Pirates to become a pirate. Yes, it's him, and I was fooled by him too. In the crowd of people, the face of the person who was corrected turned green on the spot, and then he was full of panic, because many civilians around him were red-eyed, holding messy things in their hands, and gradually surrounded him. Everyone, calm down, calm down. The people who were shaking all over and surrounded by the crowd had their teeth chattering. Killing him is because he is provoking trouble. Fuck you, I will kill you. For a time, the scene was out of control, and this kind of thing happened in various streets. Afterwards, it was the first Emperor Pirates army that began to maintain law and order, and this kind of people who suffered countless casualties could be brought under control. On Zou Island, giant elephants have been revolving around the first Emperor Pirates, but today, it has once again ushered in the disaster. In addition to the fur tribes living on Shuang Island, today, hundreds of thousands of fur tribes on Zou Island are gathered. Anuarashi, Nekomamushi, how dare you, Diaresis. Surrounded by tens of thousands of the first emperor's army, Nami, headed by him, stood in midair. And the hundreds of thousands of fur tribesmen who were gathered together inexplicably looked at Anuarashi and Nekomamushi at the front, looking horrified, because the current atmosphere was very abnormal. Nami's arrival also made Anuarashi and Nekomamushi pale and full of despair, because they knew that the fur tribe was over. In order for you to understand, I can tell you that your two patriarchs, as well as some fur tribesmen, colluded with Gul D. Roger and wanted to disrupt the order of the first Emperor Pirates, so today I am here to send you all half of the clan, go to hell. It was originally intended to wipe out your entire fur tribe, but it's a pity that Maine pleaded with the captain, so half of the fur tribe must disappear. If they dare to do it again next time, the fur tribe will be completely wiped out. Clan Anuarashi, Clan Nekomamushi, is what he said true? Behind, there are fur tribes looking at Anuarashi and Nekomamushi desperately. Originally, life is very peaceful now, but the catastrophe has come again. And Anuarashi and Nekomamushi just burst into tears and didn't speak, because they were already sinners of the fur tribe. Goodbye. With a snap of his fingers, countless thunders fell, and screams enveloped the entire sky. The survivors, looking at the charred corpses around them, knelt on the ground and wept bitterly. Now, they don't even dare to take revenge, because the weak are not even qualified to choose death. The entire fur tribe left behind some old, weak, sick and disabled, as well as some women and children. As for the high-level combatants like Anuarashi and Nekomamushi, most of them died. And this scene did not only happen to the fur tribe, but also to other islands ruled by the first Emperor Pirates. With the killing methods of the first Emperor Pirates, the first Emperor Pirates began to calm down again. A week ago, with the resurrection of One Piece King of Pirates Gul D. Roger, and telling the history of the blank 100 years, the true identity of the present world noble, Tenryubito was revealed. As a result of the riots in the entire sea, countless pirates, businessmen, all kinds of identities, all openly and secretly, began to attack the world government. If it weren't for the existence of the world government for 800 years and its various backgrounds, otherwise, it would have been reduced to ashes under the gear of this resistance. But even so, the situation of the world government is not so good. It can be said that the majesty and strength of the world government have suffered heavy losses. Every day, there will be new news, such as a member country of the world government, which was breached by the Revolutionary Army and pirates, or some base in Marine also missed. In short, the Revolutionary Army, pirates, and some other forces led by Roger suppressed the world government to the death. Now, except for West Blue, the rest of the world has fallen into Roger's hands. In addition, 4/10 of the Great Root has also become Roger's bag, and the world government, the territory shrinks again and again, as if formed battle of the trapped beasts. After all, now, more than half of the people in the world are shouting and killing the world government. The number of people alone is enough to crush the world government several times. Therefore, the Revolutionary Army can now be said to be in full swing, replacing the world government impressively and becoming the top force on the sea. The Great Airway, where the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army is located, is in a great hall. At this moment, it is crowded with people. If you let anyone out, they all belong to the monster level. Head, it is Roger, and under his head, there are Pluto Rayleigh, Dragon, Eagle Eye, General Wanokuni, Crocus, Shaki, and even all Chinjao, as well as the 2 army commanders of the eastern and northern districts of the Revolutionary Army. This lineup is very large, and there are also some pirates and so on. As for why Eagle, Qian Hao, and Chinjao are here, it may be because of like-minded people. After all, the world government is like a mouse crossing the street and everyone is shouting and beating. Diaresis, Captain, now our war with the world government has prevailed, and more people want to join our revolutionaries to overthrow the world government and regain world orthodoxy. In order to address the unity, no matter who it is now, Roger is called the captain. I saw Long put down the document in his hand and raised his head to report to Roger. Very good. Hockey was abnormal, and a smile appeared on Roger's face. Sure enough, his plan was not in vain. Of One Piece, King of Pirates alone has allowed him to call on many pirates as his subordinates, and expose the evil face of the world government, which also caused resistance from all over the world. I believe that soon, I will be able to overthrow the world government, and then I will take revenge with my own hands. Now, the world is going step by step according to its own plan, and now, it is time to use the key. Chapter 420 Captain, Gabon, Bej, they were captured by the first Emperor pirates, we must go and rescue. On the other hand, there was concern on Rayleigh's face. I have my own arrangements for this matter. Next, you have to go round and round, and you must not give the world government a chance. In addition, Morgans, you increase the printing of the newspaper and announce the evil of the world government for 800 years. Yes, Captain. Below, Morgans looked serious. The next day, at night, the lights were bright, and the entire First Emperor Pirates was still so lively. A week's time was enough for those who wanted to live a peaceful life to think clearly. Of course, there are some provocateurs among them, but now they have all become dead. Chin Luo was eating the dinner when he saw Maine and a few others rushing over with pale faces. Stopping his chopsticks and looking at the panting people standing in front of him, Chin Luo couldn't help but feel a sudden shock in his heart. Captain, Kaya was taken by Bonnie. A bolt from the blue, the ominous premonition was confirmed. Chin Luo stood up suddenly, his face gloomy like rain. What's the situation? Forced to calm down, Chin Luo looked at Maine. Captain, Kaya was attacked by Jewelry Bonnie and taken away. Maine clenched her fists tightly, and her pretty face was full of worry and resentment. I have blocked the entire Four Seasons Island. Nami, Sun Wukong, they are carrying the First Emperor's army and are searching. Her palms were full of cold sweat, and Maine said it with a cold face. After listening, Chin Luo closed his eyes, as if he was feeling something. About a minute later, Chin Luo opened his eyes, and his pupils were full of killing intent. Get the kid, Hawkins, Scratchman, Drake under control. If anything goes wrong, kill. It disappeared instantly, leaving only Chin Luo Binghan's voice. Later, Chin Luo found Nami, Sun Wukong, Perona, Kuzan, almost the top combat power of the First Emperor Pirates, stepped on Suzaku's back, turned into a beam of light, and disappeared into the sky. On Suzaku's back, everyone's faces were ashen, and their eyes were terrifyingly cold. As a doctor in the First Emperor Pirates, Kaya has always been known for her gentleness. Everyone respects her. Now that she is in crisis, everyone is naturally angry. After dozens of minutes, Suzaku, like a meteor in the dark night, passed over an unknown number of islands along the way, and finally, passed over the Red Soil continent and entered the Great Route. The headquarters of the Revolutionary Army, the coastline, a stream of light stopped at this moment, revealing a face, which is Roger, holding Bonnie and Kaya with both hands. Captain. On the coastline, Long and others all gathered together, apparently waiting here for a long time. Come on. Could speak, Roger turned around and looked at the sky, where a flash of fire came quickly. Roger. I didn't expect you to come so quickly. Roger looked at Chin-luo standing on top of Suzaku, as well as Nami and others. A sneer flashed in his eyes. Because the two are almost the front foot and the back foot, it can be said that Chin-luo's speed is very fast. Chin-luo. Kaya, who was grabbed by the dragon, wanted to escape, but was directly pinched by the dragon on the back of his neck and lifted into the air. Dragon, if you dare to hurt Kaya a hair, I will let you die without a place to die. Nami and the others also clenched their fists, and the suffocating aura emanating from their bodies silenced the sea. And Chin-luo, who was in the lead, had a very cold face, so cold that it made one's bones creepy. Fortunately, the curse that I planted on Bonnie was not lifted, otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. Say, your terms. Very calm, Chin-luo didn't threaten or get angry, just looked at Roger like a dead man. Gaban, Kizaru, Buggy. Okay. As soon as Roger finished speaking, Chin-luo agreed without even the slightest hesitation. Very well, I thought I was going to waste some words, but now it seems that it is completely unnecessary. Roger was a little surprised. After all, looking at Chin-luo's past, he wasn't very good at speaking. Now, let them go. Roger's face, Chin-luo looked at Kaya, who was full of grievances with his eyes wide open, his mouth closed, and his heart ached for some unknown reason. No, I have one last condition. However, Roger didn't plan to let Chin-luo go, instead he had the chance to win and looked at Chin-luo with a funny look. With his eyes condensed, Chin-luo clenched his fists, and there were blue veins on his forehead. As for the side, Nami and the others spit fire, and even the electric lights began to flash on the body. Sun Wukong couldn't help it even more, holding a golden hoop stick in his hand, CGAC, and all 3 heads and 6 arms appeared. Kuzan is also rising in fog, and Perona's sword is soaring into the sky. Better not to act rashly, otherwise. Long looked at Chin-luo with hatred, lifted Kaya and shook it. Long, you will surely die miserably. Squinting, Nami's eyes were blue. You can come and try. With a cold snort, Long looked at Nami with disdain. Say. Giving Nami a look, Chin-luo looked at Roger. Tomorrow, declare war on the world government. Of course, the Revolutionary Army will also take action. After that, I will let her go. Roger did not delay, and directly stated the last condition. With flickering eyes, Chin-luo looked at Roger without speaking. You don't have to agree, but let's test how much this girl holds in your heart. Very indifferent, Roger shrugged. Captain. Perona and the others all looked at Chin-luo through gritted teeth. Remember, you have no choice. The atmosphere was suppressed to the extreme, and the sea under everyone's feet was also calm, without even a single wave. Chin-luo, I'm not afraid. At this very tense time, Kaya gathered up his courage and looked at Chin-luo with a sweet smile. Chin-luo glanced at it, his eyes flashed unnaturally, and then he nodded without thinking, I promise you. Very well, you can rest assured that during this period of time, I will take good care of her, then, no. In Roger's eyes, a trace of hatred flashed, but it was hidden in an instant, and then he saw off the guest directly. However, Chin-luo did not leave, but looked at Bonnie who was standing with Crocus. Tell me why. Bartholomew Bear is my father. Bonnie didn't dodge the look in Chin-luo's eyes, but there were tears in his eyes. Then go to hell. Pat. A snap of his fingers, Bonnie's frail body suddenly inflated like a balloon, turning a golden red. Be careful. Everyone was shocked, and subconsciously, they all ducked to the side. Boom. It exploded violently, blood splattered, and in situ, a big pit of a football field appeared in front of everyone with smoke of gunpowder. Chin-luo, you. Roger's face was as gloomy as rain, and he was about to question, but was interrupted by Chin Luo. You have to remember that threats are mutual. This is just a warning. If you dare to touch Kaya, I promise, everything about you will be destroyed. After speaking, ignoring Roger's livid face, Chin Luo looked at Kaya peacefully and showed a smile. Don't worry, I won't let anyone hurt you. During this time, you have to take good care of yourself, and when I finish the matter, I'll take you home. You must be strong. Heartbroken like a knife, Chin Luo comforted her softly. Chin Luo, I will take care of myself, don't worry. Kaya nodded heavily with tears in her eyes. Well, wait for me. After speaking, Chin Luo calmly glanced at Roger and the others. After turning around, his face was ferocious like a ghost, and his nails were even deeper into his flesh. Along with a cry, the rainbow light disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. Get ready, tomorrow is the time for world government to fall.